Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you just fine. Are you a Brit bonger? Be honest.
I mean, kinda. I'm an immigrant to Britain.
Okay, never mind. You sound more American now. That first word threw me off.
Uh,
Okay.
I hear a
What's
lot of people say it's not American, but I live in Britain.
what's your
Uh,
major malfunction, dude? What's your problem, man?
my big issue, right? You talk a lot of shit about Jordan B. Peterson,
Yeah, because he's
especially
socially regressive as fuck. I don't like those people
you,
generally.
you, socially aggressive. So I understand you say a lot of things about his views on women,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what your opinion is that, oh, he thinks women should keep doing what they've been doing in the past,
Yeah.
and that's bad. That's your opinion of what he says. Well, no, your opinion is they should keep doing what they're doing, and you think that that's bad.
That they should act like they did 50 years ago?
No, not even. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Not
that's
50 years ago
generally.
isn't my biggest interest, but
Yeah, generally,
you know,
I generally think that's bad. Yeah, it doesn't align with, I guess, my idealized society. Yeah.
okay. Well, your idealized society is everyone gets to make the choices they want, free from social influence, right?
Yeah, something like that. You're a little bit quiet to hear you just saying, but yeah, generally that would be
Yeah.
my yeah.
Uh, how's that?
Still pretty quiet.
I mean, I don't know how to turn this up, but can I do that on the keyboard thing?
Wait, where's your microphone at?
I'm using headphones.
Oh, put it right up to your mouth, 2 inches from
Wow.
your mouth.
Because I'm from Britain, essentially. But
You're somehow getting
how's
quieter.
that? How's this?
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
this is okay-ish.
Okay, fine. Okay, so your opinion is that women should be free to make whatever decisions they want, free from social influence.
Free. I don't know what your last thing you said, but yeah, generally free to make whatever decisions they want, as free as possible. Yeah.
So what makes you think that leaving the workplace isn't a decision that women are willing to make?
What makes me think that what?
Leaving the workplace isn't a decision women are willing to make.
Well, because it seems like as we've given them more freedoms to make decisions, they seem to be choosing more and more to enter the workplace.
That's okay. This is I'm gonna sound like I'm trying to make some sort of weird like point here, but the decision to enter the workplace that women have made so far, right? That is the social influence that was, or I should say that it's reasonable to expect more women would enter it without necessarily being interested in entering the workplace because it's a new opportunity for them, right? But once you get further and further into, and I don't necessarily have all the data for this, but if you look at like the law profession, which I know you've heard Jordan Peterson say, that women, as they get higher, they're outperforming everyone, or they're outperforming men in the educational system and in lower levels of any job, any of these job situations. If you look at them in terms of like hour per hour or something like that, but once they hit certain levels, or you're required to work 70 or 80 hours per week, they decide to leave these professions. I don't have the data for that on hand, but have you heard that before?
Yeah, Daddy Peterson talks about this extreme at the ends all the time, that the smartest men are super smart and the dumbest men are super dumb, and that women are more moderated. Yeah, I've heard him talk about this.
So why would you assume that women don't want to raise children, or don't want to not be in a situation?
Wait, hold on. Firstly, that's a total non sequitur. Even if I acknowledge that that's true, that has nothing to do with women wanting to raise children, right?
Well, I mean, why would they leave these professions where, for the most part, they have a partner? Women supposedly go for partners that are higher up in status, then they have a partner that can earn that kind of money.
I don't know. I could
They
hypothesize.
themselves are earning that kind of money.
Yeah, I could
Like,
hypothesize.
why else would they leave?
I could hypothesize a million different reasons. I guess we'd have to look on polling data and then do a lot of longitudinal studies to find out, right? Maybe they leave
Okay.
because social pressures make them feel like they need to have a child. Maybe they leave because they genuinely
Wait,
have.
hold on. Okay, social pressures, right?
Okay, hold on.
You know about
Okay, hold on, hold
Scandinavian
on. So I just said that I could conceive of several hypotheses. Maybe.
Yeah, let's get to one.
Well, no, we can't
Let's
because you
get to
just
a
said you don't
reasonable
have
one.
the data. So all we're doing is telling each other stories.
Yeah,
Right?
but you're making a claim that Jordan Peterson's views on women is somehow unfair.
Well, no, I said they were
He's
regressive.
displaying
I said they were regressive.
regressive in what way? In that they are taking us back to things that happened in the past. Is that necessarily a negative thing? And I don't want to sound like some kind of like white nationalist type.
Well, no, it's
Oh,
not necessarily negative if you're in favor of more regressive social policy. I mean, not
I'm
necessarily.
not in favor of regressive policies. I'm in favor of policies that allow the society to function efficiently. Then that seems to be what these decisions women and men make lead to, right?
Wait,
like,
what do you mean? Wait, what do you mean by what is your definition of efficient? So less.
in that a society that can sustain itself and progress in its own goals, like and do the things it wants to do.
Wait, so like women women entering the workforce, expanding the size of our workforce, expanding the size of our talent pool, these are all inefficient to you, or?
It's not inefficient, right? But you can't then, women don't have any reason not to raise children, and we need someone to be raising children.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with that philosophical claim that you think you can compel somebody to raise a child. I'm not comfortable with that.
There is no one is compelling anyone to do these things. Everyone, or in the society we live in now compared to 50 years ago, social pressures have definitely been, right? And if you look at, about Scandinavian studies.
Okay, wait. Yeah, I know all the meme studies. Okay, I've heard of these many times. Let's just focus on let's just focus on one point, okay, before we jump off into a million things. So, because I'm clearly not understanding you. You sounded to me like it sounded like you said earlier, maybe I'm misquoting it, but it sounded like you said, why should women work when they could stay at home? So it sounds to me like you're in favor of pushing women to have children, even if they would prefer to work. So that's where
No.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. If women want to work,
okay,
they should, because not a lot of people want. No, not like that. Not a lot of people have the fortitude to pursue high-end careers.
Wait. Just one point at a time, okay? So why do you think that just because not everyone has the fortitude to be the top partner at a law firm, that means they shouldn't work? Like, you realize that applies even daddy...
No, I'm saying that because not everyone has that, anyone who does have that, men or women included, should be able to do that.
Wait, so people that don't have that shouldn't?
They won't. It's not that they shouldn't.
Wait. So do you think that every person that's working right now has the fortitude to be a top gun at a law firm?
No, I'm talking about the people that are succeeding at high levels, which is the conversation that's going on right now.
No, it's not. Wait, why do you think that only the people at the top level, that should be our indicator for who should work, or only the people at the top?
I'm not saying work or not. I'm saying we're talking about a gender pay gap, which is...
Wait, no. We're not talking about a gender pay gap. We're not talking about that. Whoa, just...
Okay, sorry, okay.
Okay, wait, hold on, wait. Let's just...
The role society should have for women.
Yeah, let's both take a deep breath, okay? Take a deep breath, because we're leaping through a lot of talking points right now. Okay. All we're talking about right now, okay, is literally whether or not women should be joining the workforce in the numbers that they are. We're not talking about the top performers. We're not talking about a pay gap. I just want to know, because it sounded to me earlier like you believe that we should compel women to stay at home and have children, even if they would otherwise choose to work. So that's what we're talking about. So
who would make that argument? Do I sound like... Does that sound like a reasonable argument anyone would make, that we should force people to do things they don't want to do? Like, that's not the argument Jordan Peterson is making.
Well, Jordan Peterson argues about it in a roundabout way, where he says, well, truly women do want to stay at home and have children. They just don't know it, I think, is like the way that he argues it.
First of all, that's not the same thing as saying how women do these things.
Well, no, sure, yeah, I understand that, but we weren't talking about Peterson's position. I was talking about what I'm responding. We're having a conversation. I was responding about what you said earlier, and it sounded like you said earlier something along the lines of like women should stay at home and not be in our workforce. So that's what I was trying to understand.
No, okay. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying that the fact that, for the most part, societally, that has been how things have played out, isn't necessarily something you should call...
Okay, yeah, wait, so I just have to stop you, because so the way that this works is, generally, the way that I like this to work is we do premise, conclusion. So we build up some level of assumptions, some premises, and then we put a conclusion at the end, because it should logically follow from my premises. So if you establish a premise that I disagree with, I'm going to immediately disagree with it. So earlier, you used an appeal to tradition. So you say something like, this is how society has traditionally worked. That's not really an argument for anything, right? Because I could make...
I don't think that's quite what I was saying.
Okay, well, it sounded like you specifically said the words, traditionally, this is what society did. I thought I heard that phrase.
I think what I was saying was trying to establish, like, the fact that has happened in the past being considered regressive. I think that's what the point I was trying to make when I said
Well, isn't like going back to the past like the definition of regressive or regressing to the past? I thought that's maybe I could use a different word.
I would have thought regressive would be something necessarily negative.
Necessarily what?
Going back in the negative, going back in the past to do things the way they were done before isn't in of itself a negative thing, right? But I think when you say regressive, that has a connotation of something negative, in my opinion.
Kind of like maybe saying postmodern neo-Marxist might have like a negative connotation to it. It's interesting that you take it.
Postmodern neo-Marxist, and you know this, you've heard him say this. That's an I don't know what the word is. It's a sentence that defeats itself. You can't be postmodern and a neo-Marxist. That's the problem with postmodern neo-Marxism.
Okay, no. Okay, I don't want to do this.
Wait, I don't want to. Yeah, let's not jump onto that.
Yeah. Oh no, that's definitely not a right way to go. Okay, so instead of regressive, I'll say socially conservative. If regressive irritates you, I'll say conservative.
Okay, socially conservative.
Okay.
Sure. And I don't necessarily see an issue with being socially conservative.
Yeah, I understand.
Do you think that that's a negative element of Jordan Peterson's viewpoint? That
yeah, of course. It's one of my primary. Yeah, it's one of my chief complaints about him. I'm a liberal, and I think that people should be able to choose the things that, free of oppressive societal pressures, choose what makes them most happy. Yeah, that's my job.
And what if they choose things that can be considered socially conservative? What if that's inbuilt?
Yeah, they want to choose that. That's fine. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and you know about the Scandinavian studies. That's what's happening over there. So how is Jordan Peterson wrong? Or how is he biased in his viewpoint that women should, or in his viewpoint of what he says? If the empirical evidence suggests that women make socially conservative
okay, so without running down the Scandinavian studies,
why would you say that?
Because it's not really relevant directly to our conversation right now. So
because you've axiomatically decided.
Okay, so when Jordan Peterson makes a lot of his arguments, he speaks about certain environmental things. The way that he describes things bothers me. Like, he might say something along the lines of like, women in the workplace present X, Y, and Z problems, but it seems like he always leaves it at that, and that his prescription for these things is that the best course of action is to just say no women should be at the workplace, instead of, hey, how could we, change these things? How could we make these things better?
Wait, what makes you say he says there should be no women in the workplace?
Well, he doesn't say that because he's too much of a coward usually to give any type of.
He's like dogma.
Well, yeah. So the Jordan Peterson formula is to lay out 5 descriptive claims that lead very obviously to a normative one, but then never make the normative claim so that nobody can call you on it.
Okay, this is great, because this is something else I have a big issue with you saying.
Cool. So, like, an example, in that conversation with that Asian kid or whatever, and he does this a ton, in the conversation with that one lady on Channel 4 or whatever, he'll do something where he'll say, like, oh, like, women don't work well in the workplace, women cause this problem, women blah, and then when you say, oh, well, so you think women shouldn't be in the workplace, you're like, oh, well, no, I never do that. I never say that.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. Could you be a bit more specific with that? It's kind of hard to...
Specific with what?
With he said something. He says something in interviews, like the Captain Newman interview. He said women present X, Y, or Z problem. Okay, like you have to be specific when you talk about the things that he's saying because they're very context dependent. So if you're saying they present an issue, what issue is it he's saying they present that he's leaving open? And I don't. Yeah.
No. So in the interview with the Asian kid, he was saying things like when women wear makeup, that's like a sexual signal or whatever that like arouses men and shit like that, right? Like.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can focus on something like that, right? That on the makeup. Yeah. Do you deny that that makeup is a sexual display? That wearing makeup is fundamentally sexual?
I mean, it can be seen as such, but that doesn't mean that I have to treat women differently in the workplace. I don't have to necessarily view it that way.
No, but the point that he's making when he says that is women are allowed to bring in sexual elements into the workplace. Men, the line isn't clear where they can do that, right? Like, can you make comments? Can you have physical contact, right? There's no
wait.
As to when men can
if you're going to call makeup sexual displays, then I'll call wearing suits or tuxedos or grooming your face or combing your hair sexual displays as well. No? What do you mean?
Yeah, and I don't deny that. I'm just saying the point
wait. How can you say you don't deny that when you just said men aren't allowed to bring sexual displays into the workplace?
I'm saying that men dressing in suits and wearing, keep shaving their face or whatever. That can be in and of itself a sexual display, but for the most part in history, men in the workplace weren't in contact with women in the workplace. So the fact that it was quote unquote sexual display doesn't have the effect on how the workplace operates. But if you then bring women in, then that sexual element can manifest itself in action, like things people can do sexual things. So why are you rolling your eyes even though there's a delay?
Well, because the obvious question I'm going to ask is, well, then why can't we change this? Why can't we view these things?
It's not saying that we can't change it.
Okay, no, but stop. No, oh my God. Okay, hold on. Shh. I got to take a deep breath, okay? Because you're doing what every single Peterson fan does, and you fall into the trap perfectly, and I hate this. It drives me fucking crazy. It's because what Peterson, well, it bothers me because Peterson will make all these descriptive claims, but he never gives you the normative claim. And then, and everybody gets upset. Well, hold on, listen, because what happened is you've come onto my stream to tell me about how women should be more socially conservative. But whenever I try to, yes, what do you mean? No,
I'm not saying that they should be. I'm saying that there is a reason that they are.
Okay, but your goal is to say, why are these things bad? Maybe this is the way things should be.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, maybe it is.
What do you mean maybe it is? No, okay.
It might not be. Maybe there are some, maybe it's just a matter of time before women are more well integrated into workplaces and we don't have things like the Me Too situation. But as of now, right, the situation between men and women in the workplace is difficult to distinguish.
Okay, but what a responsible orator, what a responsible person does that has any level of intellectual or social integrity, would they do? So this is something Jordan Peterson I don't believe has. They would say, hey, here is a problem, and this is the part that Peterson always seems to miss, okay? What should we do about it? What ought we to do about this problem? Now, when Jordan Peterson lines up all of his claims, the obvious answer seems to be that women need to get the fuck out of the workplace. My obvious answer, or my...
Why would you think there's anything obvious about what Jordan Peterson says? He's not an idiot.
I can't.
You think he's an idiot?
I mean, I don't think we're ever going to agree. Like...
Oh, but wait.
Here's a question for you.
What have I said that you don't like?
Well, nothing, because you don't say enough for me to not like it. You're playing the same games that Peterson plays.
Okay, but the situation with men and women in the workplace is actually a difficult problem. Do you disagree with that?
Sure. Okay, so here's my question. What do you think we should do?
I think we should try and organize a system of rules to determine how men and women should function together in the workplace.
We don't have any of these rules already. Like, give me an example of a rule. One rule that you would instate.
Well, like no makeup.
Why? Okay, wait, so does that mean that
men... Look, that's just an example. I don't think there should be no makeup, but that's a starting point.
Wait!
That's a reasonable claim
That's
to
the point
make.
of an example. That's like saying, what do you think we should do to discipline kids at school? Well, we should line them up against the wall and shoot them. Well, that doesn't sound very smart. Wait, well, that's just an example. I'm asking you for an example of a rule.
If we were to talk more about why women should or shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace, that's a much more reasonable conversation to have than to claim that it's sexist to say that there's problems with women in the workplace.
Okay, wait. So you think that women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace? Okay, well, I think that men shouldn't be allowed to shave. Are we on the same playing field now?
I think we're in the playing field of getting to a reasonable answer.
That's reasonable?
Right? It's not
that men shouldn't be allowed to shave and then...
That in of itself isn't reasonable, but the conversation that follows from that is much more reasonable than whatever's been going on so far.
Why can't the conversation be, just because a woman wears makeup doesn't mean I should sexually assault her or treat her as a sex object? Why can't that be the conversation? That's not possible?
Well, I mean, what's your definition of treating someone as a sex object?
I don't know. You're telling me that a woman wearing makeup necessarily makes them more sexual. Like...
I'm saying that it is the introduction of something sexual into a field that didn't usually have that.
Okay,
right?
and women used to not show their ankles. The problem are the normative statements that you're spitting off from this or pretending you're not. When you say, like, women are doing something that appears more sexual, and they used to not do it. And it's like, okay, that's a descriptive claim that I can kind of agree with, but the normative claim that you seem to be getting at is that women ought not to do that. But people would have made the same thing about showing their ankles. They would have said the same thing about wearing tops that didn't cover their... Like, I mean, like, Muslims make this argument about women not wearing burqas. Like...
Yeah. In my personal opinion, the solution to men and women in the workplace is to have men control themselves better, right? Okay, yeah. But how are you going to enforce that?
Socially,
There's
like
no
we
way
enforce all sorts of these things. Of course there is. Things like the Me Too movement or things like different
Okay,
workplace.
but how do you enforce that? You immediately run into problems.
So because there are problems, there's problems with everything.
No, I'm not saying that because of problems we shouldn't do it. I'm saying that...
But that's exactly what you just said.
I'm saying that...
I gave you a solution and you said, but there are problems. That seems to imply that because there are problems, we shouldn't do it.
That solution isn't good enough. It needs more work.
Sure, no one disagrees with that. The workplace is not perfect.
So why would you talk so negatively about Peterson? That's exactly what he says.
Because Peterson seems to want to run in the total other direction where he's saying women should all stay at home. If I were to poll Peterson's audience, do you think that most of his audience
Don't talk to me about his audience. Like, that's not what you're basing your judgment of him
on.
on.
No, it absolutely is.
Why?
Because your audience is incredibly important. What do you mean?
Yeah, but you said yourself that most people are dumb, right? So if you say something that superficially has some sort of, like, it looks a certain way, you're going to pull certain people in that direction who aren't going to see the nuance, right?
It's your responsibility as a public speaker to make sure they do.
Yeah, okay. Do you think that that's effective for most people? Do you think most people are going to be able to see that nuance?
Well, I mean, not for conservatives and not for people in the center because they don't believe in public responsibility. They don't believe that their words have an impact. They think everything's in a vacuum.
I'm talking about specifically the audience. I'm saying, like, if we're going to talk about, like, I don't know, like race relations with the police, do you think most people are going to have a nuanced opinion on that? Like, that even if you come out here and say something very reasonable, do you think most people are going to be able to detect what's reasonable about what you're saying? Or do they already have their opinion of what the solution is and they're not going to be able to hear it? You can't base an audience's response on a conversation that's this nuanced.
You absolutely can. What do you mean? Just because some things are...
How?
How? Maybe by suggesting normative claims instead of leaving it up to your audience and wondering why you have an audience filled with alt-righters and socially conservative people.
You know, a normative claim that Peterson has made about the solution between men and women in the workplace is to organize for some kind of set rule system and how that works. That's exactly what he said in the interview with, I think it was Vice. That is exactly the point that he made when he proposed different things we can put into the workplace to decrease the amount of sexual assault that happens.
Okay, but like the rule, no makeup allowed, seems ridiculous. How do you think that's like...
It seems ridiculous. Okay, but wait. Why should makeup be allowed? And I'm not saying makeup shouldn't be allowed, but why should it be allowed?
Because if somebody wants to present themselves a certain way in society, they should be able to do that. Do you consider
without the consideration of the effect that presentation is going to have?
Hold on, wait.
And
I'm really curious. Do you consider yourself a liberal or an authoritarian?
I'm a liberal.
Okay, because your arguments are so interesting.
You can't ignore.
I know, but you can't ignore that some people are gonna want to fucking rape you if you wear certain shit. So maybe
rape.
Okay,
they're gonna want to like hit on you.
Do you understand how insanely? Like, you sound like a Muslim. Do you understand that? Do you understand that or no?
I think you think I sound like a Muslim because your liberalism doesn't take into account the fact that human beings are going to act a certain way.
Oh no, I take all of that into account, my good friend. I promise you I do. Okay.
So why would you then say that wearing makeup isn't going to increase the amount of sexual activity that's going to happen?
Because the difference between me and you is that I can acknowledge that something like that should happen, but the social change should come from the other side. Whereas you are seriously...
How do you make that happen? Okay, even if that's
a million different ways.
And I don't think Jordan Peterson is against that. He's definitely against, for example, like casual sex. He says that we shouldn't have casual sex in our society. He says that that's bad, right? Like,
I wonder if any of that informs his views on if women should wear makeup in the workplace. Do you think maybe that's possible?
Most of what he says about casual sex is denigrating on men, not women.
Why? Because he doesn't think women have the autonomy to make the decision? Do you think, maybe?
No, because he thinks that men taking action in those situations allows them not to have any responsibility for the actions that they take. He says,
what about the women that allow it to happen? Does he not even consider their autonomy? Do they have no agency in his worldview because they're just women, maybe? Do you think that might play into it? Do you think...
I think wow. I mean, I don't really know what he says about women and casual sex. He mostly talks about it in terms of men.
Okay, do you think it's interesting to think that men are the people that have all the power there in determining who has casual... Do you think that might be indicative of his...
Power. It's not about power in terms of casual sex between men and women.
When I say
He's
power,
saying
I mean
that-
you function as an agent that can make choice. So if you blame
yeah,
men
in
about
casual sex,
yeah,
it's pretty equal, isn't it?
I don't know. Then why does Jordan Peterson only talk
club.
about the men and not the women?
Because that's the more interesting, well, that's the safer conversation to have if you're going to talk about casual sex, is to talk negatively about
I thought
men.
Peterson was a
Talk
brave
negatively about
man who
women.
had the dangerous conversations.
Yeah.
Why would he care about what's the safer conversation to have?
You might.
What?
I would say, okay,
Okay, wait. Fuck all this. Let's go back to the thing that we pivoted from.
yeah.
Why do you think it's reasonable to say one reasonable solution to tensions in the workplace? Tell me what the difference is between this, okay? A Muslim says, hey, I love women, and I think women should be able to wear what they want, but if you cover your hair, the fact is men will be less tempted. What's the difference between a Muslim making that argument and you saying, hey, if you want to wear makeup, that's great. I think you should be allowed to, but if you didn't wear makeup, men would be less sexually tempted. Can you tell me the difference between these two arguments?
Those two things are probably not different, but the difference is that I don't have an issue with sexual activity in the workplace. I don't think it's wrong for men and women to sexually act towards each other in the workplace. What the problem is what's the reasonable standard for that kind of behavior?
Do you okay, I just want you to understand how frustrating it is for me, okay? Do you understand how frustrating it is when you tell me one solution to workplace sexual shit is to make women not wear makeup, and then in the next breath you tell me, well, I don't think that women shouldn't wear makeup. I don't even know like what I'm arguing with. Wait, what is your...
I'm saying that men and that to say that women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace isn't necessarily a solution, right? But it gets into the
then let's
what the actual problem is.
Then let's drop that as an example, because the only reason we're talking about that is because I asked you what is a potential solution. So if that is not, then let's move it off the table.
No, I'm not saying that. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So what is a potential solution that you are capable of defending to the differences of men and women in the workplace?
In terms of like sexual activity, or
sure,
the fact that
and whatever Daddy Peterson talks about, what is a solution to these issues in the workplace between men and women?
Probably raising tolerance towards sexual behavior, maybe in the current climate.
What does that mean?
Like, for example,
like people should be able to fuck in the office, or?
Well, no, you should say something like making a comment that someone looks nice isn't treating someone as a sexual object. Saying that you look pretty today that shouldn't be something considered as like sexual objectification. It should be considered interaction between two people that might want to bang.
I feel like we have to talk for 2 hours to even approach this point.
And I think that's the problem, right? Is that you have because you deal with a lot of right-wing people, you have a very, I don't know, like
fuck it. You know what, dude? It's early. I'm tired. Let's fucking do it. Why do you think? Let's take some guesses. Why do you think a woman might be irritated if men are constantly telling her that she's pretty in the workplace? Why do you think? Let's guess.
Because it's taking away from her existence there as someone that is competent at their job.
Okay. Wow. So what's wrong with saying that maybe for women, maybe we shouldn't necessarily focus on their looks as being the main determining factor of why they're good at their job or why they should be at a workplace?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying, right, that if you're going to say there shouldn't be sexual act or you shouldn't focus on that element of a woman, right?
Okay.
That there's not just one side of this that you can enforce that viewpoint on, right? That because obviously we've had social attitudes that you shouldn't treat women that way for a while, and it seems like if you look at like the campaigns that we're having nowadays, that it hasn't been very effective.
Whoa, hold on. So you think that women's treatment in the workplace today is the same as it was 40 or 50 years ago?
No, I'm saying that the standard.
Okay, wait, stop! Oh my God. Okay,
I'm trying
to listen. Please. Okay, when I restate something that you said, I'm trying to get you to agree with it so that we're on the same page. You keep saying one thing, and then I feel like I'm restating it, and you're saying, no, I didn't say that. So you said earlier, so help me resolve this, okay? So it sounded like what you said earlier was, it seems like when we look at how women and men function in the workplace, what we're doing right now isn't working. So then what I said, I restated that by asking you, so are you saying we treat women the same today that we did 50 years ago? Because it seems like you imply that we haven't made any progress. You're not saying that?
No. Okay. We've made progress.
Okay.
Right? But the progress that we've made in terms of, like, you know, if I watch Mad Men and people are slapping women on the arse, that's not happening. Right? But women still aren't feeling as though they're being respected as someone that is effective in the workplace.
Okay, but we're making progress. So why can't
we're making progress. But, like, so what are you saying? Just keep doing what we've been doing?
Yeah! Why not? Women are more integrated into the workforce than they ever have been. Women are educating at college and greater. I think they even exceed men these days, although there's still some disparity in the types of majors they choose. Yeah, why not continue moving in this direction? It seems to be working well, no?
But in the direction that we've been moving in, it's the things that have come out of it are things like the Me Too movement.
That's good. That's positive. That means we're moving in a better direction. We're addressing these huge problems that have existed for a long time. Now we're vocalizing it, we're verbalizing it, we're exposing it, and we're getting rid of the people that are doing it, and we're moving forward, hopefully, in a more positive direction. Isn't that good?
So you don't see, like, the result or the attitude that's built around the Me Too situation, which is, I mean, it seems to me that there's not enough nuance in something like Me Too, that it's saying, well, for the big cases, I agree with Me, right? But for something like when a company introduces policies that you shouldn't hug in the workplace.
Wait, real quick. Wait, hold on. Wait, real quick, 1 second. Hello?
Hello?
Hold on 1 second.
Me?
Yeah, so when you change a flight, you can't, like, you're not actually changing flights, right? You just have to say you want to fly standby. If you can't change your actual ticket, you just have to fly standby, right? Yeah. Gotcha. Wait, for which airline? Wait, and it was for American Airlines? Yeah, wait, and you talked to the lady at the desk up there, and she said you can't fly standby? Is she busy right now? Is there anybody at the desk, or I mean, like, can I talk to her real quick? Is that possible or no? Or are there, like, a line of people in front of her? Yeah, wait, can I talk to her real quick? Hey, how's it going? Hey, okay, I'm doing pretty good. Okay, I'm sorry, my uncle doesn't fly very much. So I'm sorry, I'm just trying to clear something real quick. So my uncle has a ticket, I think, that leaves from that airport to Omaha. I think the stated time is like 10:30 tonight or whatever. I was under the impression that he should be able to just hop on an earlier flight and fly standby if there's seats available. Is that not possible? And on a normal coach ticket, so even if you have, like, a standby seat available, he can't be at, like, the end of a priority list for that or whatever? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay. What? No, I'm just... I've never heard this in my entire life. Just chill. Hold on. Calm down. I'm gonna... Yeah, don't worry about it. Just let him look it up. We'll see what he says. Sorry, hold on. My uncle is like in an airport and he needs help. One sec. I'm almost done. Have you tried like screaming at him in Spanish? Maybe they'll think you don't know what's going on. I know, that's the point. Maybe they'll just throw you on a flight to get you out of there. Is he still looking it up? Okay. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, you should be able to hop on that flight then, okay? Okay. Tell the guy thank you for me, okay? Yeah, no problem. Bye. Fucking Christ. All right, where were we at?
Well, I kind of want to. Can I kind of lay down the kind of point that I'm trying to make?
Yeah, go for it.
My issue is, right, that historically, men and women weren't in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Recently, women have joined the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And that introduces a whole bunch of relationships, that we don't understand.
Sure.
Okay? So to say that maybe we should look at how women conduct themselves as well as men in these situations to decrease frictions that we're seeing isn't inherently regressive.
I agree with that, sure.
That's exactly what Jordan Peterson says.
Okay, but when I asked you for an example of that,
mm-hmm.
You said women shouldn't be allowed to wear makeup.
Okay, yeah. How does that deviate from what I suggested?
Because I don't think that's a reasonable policy. But then you backed off from that immediately. So
okay, I'm going to for a bit. Let's assume that I do think women shouldn't wear makeup.
Well, why would you want to defend a point that you're not even gonna defend?
No, because I think that this is the thing that Jordan Peterson was getting at, in that, okay, wearing makeup is fundamentally a sexual act.
Everything is a sexual act. If you want to view wearing makeup as a sexual act, then everything is a sexual act.
And that's the problem. That's why women and men are having such troubles in the workplace. And you can't lay the fact that he points that out at Jordan Peterson's feet and say that he's regressive.
Well, because you have to provide a solution to that. Otherwise, your audience is going to assume you should say that if problems exist, it should just not happen. That's the default assumption. That's why Jordan Peterson's audience is overwhelmingly misogynistic, overwhelmingly conservative. It's not like Jordan Peterson has a ton of fans on the left. Like, there's a reason why he has the type of audience that he has.
Do you think his audience is majority? I mean, I don't really engage with the audience as much, but what makes you say that they're misogynistic in, like, overall?
Just a hunch.
Just a hunch.
Just a hunch.
I guess it is. But I just think that a lot of these hunches that you have are based on how because you think he's right-wing. You think Jordan Peterson is right-wing.
I would call him an SJW reactionary, which makes him come off as very right-wing, sure, yeah. Yeah.
I know you hate the term centrist, and that's not what I call him. I'd call him metapolitical.
Metapolitical? What does that mean?
Don't laugh at me, man. You're embarrassing me. I'd say that it's like the issues that he's because statistical, like the political viewpoint, left or right, is like most of the time it's an opinion. That's why you struggle so much to convince people who are on the other side. It's just something that they believe, right? So the fact that they already believe that means there's something underneath all that stuff, right? There's something that's causing them to believe that, and that's the stuff that he's tackling. He's not a political person. But you talk about how he talks about Bill C-16 like he cares about transgender rights.
I mean, everything you do is inherently political. So when somebody is literally giving
That's why I said metapolitical, right? That
when you say
underlies
metapolitical, you're implying something about you're just political. Metapolitical is political.
It's deeper than politics.
What do you, everything is how can you be deeper than politics? What does that mean?
Because politics is about enacting social change, right?
A lot of things can be political. Me having a video game with all women or all men can be political. What do you mean? Yeah, but right, the purpose of, for example, there's an all male or all female game. The purpose for having that doesn't necessarily it can be political, but the purpose isn't political. It doesn't matter. Every action in a society is inherently political in some way.
Yeah, but sometimes looking at it politically isn't enough to solve the problem.
Sure, I agree with that. My charge with Jordan Peterson isn't that he looks at things politically. It's that he tends to have a certain slant that lines up well with certain types of politics, and that I disagree. Even apolitically, I disagree with everything he says regardless. This isn't even a conversation. How do we even get here? We're talking about whether or not...
Because I have an issue with your negative opinion of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, and you've reinforced everything I've thought about it like a million times over.
Because you think I'm dog whistling.
Because I think what?
You think I'm dog whistling?
Because I think you're what?
Dog whistling? Dog whistling.
I don't even know what you're doing because you won't even make a claim. Here's where we are. Because why?
Because I'm not a sexist, right? I don't think women shouldn't work, but
you don't think they should be allowed to wear makeup?
I'm saying that in the workplace that might be a solution in the workplace. I don't think it is. But it might stop the problems we have. It depends on what you value.
Okay. So earlier, when I said you sound like a Muslim, why did you get upset with that? Aren't you just giving me basically religious conservative values right now? All
right. Give me a second to try and lay this out. Right? Okay.
Wait, what do you need to lay? I understand your point fully.
No.
I can explain your point fully. Do you want me to explain your point?
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
You're saying that historically, men and women weren't in the workplace. Now, men and women are in the workplace. Today, this represents some problems. I'm upset because people seem to lay the burden completely at the feet of man. I think that women should take some steps to resolve this. One of those steps could be not wearing makeup in the workplace. That might resolve some of the problems that we have, but it seems like left-leaning people are unwilling to engage in this type of discussion. Is that your point?
Yes.
Okay, so my question...
Why does that make me a Muslim?
Well, because you're essentially saying that women need to do a certain thing to protect themselves from sexual harassment, where you're removing agency from the men at this point.
Okay, yeah, and I don't believe in agency. I don't think people have the ability to fundamentally decide how they act. That's why we put these things into place.
Okay, we kind of do. Let's not go with the full
kind
determinism.
Yeah,
let's call ourselves compatibilists, and let's pretend that people have some level of moral agency so that we can ascribe right and wrong to their actions. Because if we can't do that, this whole conversation is fucking pointless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
so why?
But what's the point of a workplace if you're going to allow sexual things to be involved in a workplace, right? Is that okay with you? Do you think that a workplace is somewhere where you can reasonably expect sexual activity to happen?
When you say sexual things, the problem is you broaden that statement such that it becomes vacuous, where everything is sexual.
Yeah, and I don't
So if you talk about women can't wear makeup, so if you talk about so you're drawing the line at women wearing makeup. What about women doing their hair? What about men doing their hair? What about men shaving? What about men having pads in the shoulders of their suits? What about men wearing dress shoes? How can you call some of these behaviors sexual? Some of these behaviors not sexual. How is makeup sexual?
Because, right?
Yeah.
Most of the things that you laid out about uniform fundamentally exist to serve a workplace, right?
No.
Suits,
how do suits serve a Okay, here's my question.
Because everyone
We're close. We're so close. We're so close. Okay, wait. So makeup can be a uniform too. We're so close. Tell me why makeup.
Fine, then have a makeup.
Tell me why makeup. We do. In most workplaces, if you go to work wearing a full-on extravagant, ridiculous makeup, you're probably gonna get called into your office for it. So tell me why makeup.
Do you think that that's okay to be called into the office for wearing extremely extravagant makeup?
Yeah, depending on the environment.
So how do we disagree?
Because wearing Do you understand that there are different kinds of makeup that women can wear, or do you think it's just like one mask?
Exactly.
Like every woman goes to her
that's what I'm
dresser
saying.
at the beginning of the day, and you have like the makeup mask, and you put that on, and that's just like the same makeup every single day that a woman wears.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how then do you draw the distinction between just wearing makeup and wearing extravagant makeup, right? That line, it exists. We just don't know how to draw it.
No,
That's
that line
the
is
issue.
very simple. That is a very
How?
simple.
That's simple because we already know it, but we don't know what the rest of the rules should be.
Okay, hold on. Before we don't want to go down that road. Let's back it up. How is wearing makeup sexual? Normal, everyday makeup. How is that sexual?
Right, because the point of makeup is to exaggerate sexual features, right? Red lipstick, blush, eyeliner, whatever. It's things that fundamentally attract the opposite sex. That's what makeup does.
Okay, now I'm going to say shaving is something that we do to enhance our sexual features and attract the other gender. When we shave our face, it's to give the appearance of it being smoother so that we appear more youthful. So I think if we're banning makeup, we should ban shaving from the workplace. Do you think that's fair?
Okay. I'm going to sound like I'm backtracking.
Okay.
And I'm going to continue defending not wearing makeup in the workplace. But I don't fundamentally believe that the solution is to not wear makeup.
Okay, then why are we using this example?
No,
Can we
because
just leave? I don't want to talk about it.
I'm pointing out how difficult it is to draw these lines.
It's not difficult, though. My side is real easy. I say, how about my side? Don't sexually harass women. When people do sexually harass women or treat them as objects or give them unfair treatment for being women, we punish that until people stop doing it. We do it via social change, we do it via workplace training change, and we do it via direct punishment. There's some solutions.
Okay, but how do you define
how do I define sexual harassment? Was that the one that you wanted to?
Yeah, sure, that one. How do you define that?
Okay, in what context? How about if a man places? Sure. Okay, that's not necessarily what I was going to put. If a man places his hands on a woman, it's probably inappropriate. If a man is talking about a woman.
Okay, wait.
Yeah?
Let's do that place in the hand things one.
Okay.
Okay. What if, in all times, touching a woman is inappropriate? Would you say that that's something reasonable to put into the workplace? That's a reasonable rule?
Touching a woman without her consent, sure. In a workplace appropriate
How
manner.
do you generally get consent to touch someone? If I put my hand on his shoulder,
I go to hug somebody, it's usually very clear beforehand that both of us would like to hug somebody. I don't place my hands on people unless they've explicitly given me permission to do so. I think that's a pretty easy rule.
Explain to me a situation where someone has explicitly said to you, you can put your hand on their shoulder.
Sure. When I went to TwitchCon, sometimes somebody would take a picture with me. If a person was going to take a picture with me, before doing it, I would go, hey, is it okay if I touch you? And they go, yeah, sure. And then I would hug them and we would take a picture. That's an example.
You think that's how most social situations take place? You ask?
Sure. Or it can be communicated via body language. If you go to hug somebody and they open their arms and they go to hug you too.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is that when you start talking about body language, we're getting into very murky territory.
If the territory is murky for you, then remove the body language and just go verbal. That's what I advocate most people do.
Okay. See that what you've just said, if I was me and you were Jordan Peterson, that's exactly what you would have said. What you just said. You don't really disagree with him on anything. You just don't like him because he's an anti-SJW.
Okay. What?
Your issues with Jordan Peterson
no, wait.
any of his points.
Okay, wait. So, okay, well, we're not jumping. Let's stay right here.
You want to keep on? Okay,
because you wanted me, because you were turning the tables on me. Give me an example of how not to harass women at the workplace.
Yeah.
So what's wrong with my prescription of saying don't put your hands on somebody unless they've explicitly consented to doing it? Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Right, because that's not how things work in the outside world.
Why can't it be?
If you're going to enforce
Wait,
that,
why can't it be?
What? If you're at a family meetup, right, and someone's brought.
Hold on. We were talking about in the no, wait. We were talking about in the context of an office. Not at a family meetup.
But
okay.
People don't only exist in offices. You have to take into account the outside world when you put in a
No, you really don't. Office. No, you really don't. No.
Okay.
If I'm in the, I might be in the elevator alone with a significant other, and maybe I'll reach around and grab their boobs. I probably wouldn't do that in the office. If we're making rules for the office...
With a significant other, though? With a significant
Sure.
other?
If we're in the office...
If it was your girlfriend in the office, you're not going to touch her boob or whatever.
No!
Like, you're not going to be...
No!
Stop.
What?
Wait, let me reword that. Chill. If you're in the workplace with someone, right, and you work across from your girlfriend, you're not going to hold her hand? If
No!
she says, like, oh, I'm feeling ill?
Hold on.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Let me stop screaming. No, I wouldn't do that because that's not workplace appropriate behavior.
But do you think most offices are that professional? Do you not think there's some sort of informality that happens in offices because it's a human being talking to another human being?
In any corporate, the very limited few years of corporate experience that I have, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've never worked in an office.
In offices, when two people are dating, you absolutely do not have displays of affection in that office. People will come. That's a one-way ticket to HR.
So, sure. Okay. So, in that vein of saying you can't have sexual displays in the workplace or what is it? Public displays of affection, right?
Yeah.
If you can't have that in the office, all right. Why is women being allowed to wear makeup a reasonable line to draw in that context? Why can you say you can't have public displays of affection with a significant other, but a woman can wear makeup? Why is that okay?
Okay, let me make sure I understand your question.
I don't know how magic
do you think that having a public display of affection is the same as wearing makeup, or is comparable to wearing makeup in terms of how offensive you're being to the office?
Personally, no. But I think
why are you making this argument?
Wait. Because if you're going to start to draw like concrete rules,
that's an easy rule to draw. Here's an easy rule to draw. Rule number one. Rule number one. Here's a rule. 1, no romantic displays of affection in the office. If I make that rule, that has nothing to do with makeup. That's a pretty easy line to draw.
How is makeup? I guess romantic means something different. But like, if you're fundamentally trying to avoid sexual, because the fundamental issue isn't like, oh, displays of affection, it's the relationship between men and women in the workplace in terms of sexually. Like, what's the allowance for the sexual nature of men and women in the workplace? That's the problem you're dealing with, right? So if you're going to try and solve that rule, you need to have a concrete understanding of what defines something sexual.
Sure, and I asked you to tell me why makeup was sexual, and when you gave me a definition, I compared it to men shaving. And you seemed like you wanted to back away from it as soon as I did that. No, look,
okay, I said earlier, like, okay, let's then say I was to defend men shaving in the workplace. Yeah, let's say that I would say that's okay, and wearing makeup isn't okay. The argument I would make for that would be right that the reason men wear suits and shave and dress in a certain way is not to look good. It's a uniform. It's to make them all look the same. Like, you can't have a scraggly giant beard. It's too distinctive. You don't look like everyone else. That's the value of a suit or keeping yourself clean shaven.
You realize that women literally wear makeup for exactly this purpose.
Yeah, but that's the difference. But there's a difference there.
What is the difference? There is literally a societal expectation of how women should look, and women tend to wear makeup to match that description.
But that societal expectation isn't very. I keep saying the word. I feel like I should know that, but that's not a very nuanced viewpoint, because it doesn't take into account the fact that women are now in the workplace. Women were supposed to wear makeup because societally, historically, they had different roles, but now they have the same role as a man in a workplace.
I don't see how any of this is relevant to what I just said.
What I'm trying to point out, what I'm trying to say is that the difference between a suit and makeup is that a suit is fundamentally for work, makeup isn't fundamentally for work.
Why can't it be?
I mean, it might be able to be, but
okay,
it
well,
isn't now.
Let's do that then.
But it isn't now.
I mean, it is. There are plenty of women that wear makeup when they go to work, and they don't get sexually harassed or treated as sex objects by their coworkers.
Okay, maybe that's fine. So, do you think, for the most part, the relationship between men and women in the workplace is fine?
I never said that. I said that it's been improving.
No. Okay.
It's better than it was 20 years ago.
Do you think there should be any, like, intense effort to improving those relationships? Or do you think the rate at which things are going is kind of okay?
That's a super ultra complicated.
Yeah.
It would be bad for me to try to give an answer to that. I really couldn't, because it's possible that we could improve it at a much greater rate with more pressure. It's possible that it's moving at a decent rate right now. I mean, like the good answer is to say we should always be moving faster, but I mean, yeah, we're making.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Let's say I'm some super left guy that is like,
admitted he has never
the way women are being treated right now is completely unacceptable. We shouldn't stand for it in any way. Men are being completely unfair to women. How can I not just as easily say that you're an insane right-wing person for saying that it's possible things are going at a listening to him? Like, what you're doing to Peterson is what I just did to you.
Wait, what? How is what you just did to Peterson?
Because you just said that the situation of or the rate of improvement right now, whether it should be faster or not, is a really complicated solution, or is a really complicated question to answer. That's the exact same thing that Jordan Peterson is saying.
No, but the difference is that when somebody says there's a complicated problem and they don't present a solution to said problem, the appearance that you give to the public is that you ought to avoid that problem. So, for instance, if I were to walk in, this is basic human psychology. Stop, hold on. Yes. This is basic human psychology, and Peterson, of all fucking people in the world, should be aware of this. If I walk into a place and I go, hey, there is a thing, and it has this problem, this problem, this problem, and this problem. Well, the obvious gut reaction is, well, what the fuck? We should get rid of that thing. That is the immediate gut response. And that is the...
Wait a second.
Yeah?
Do you think that Jordan Peterson is saying that the inclusion of women into the workplace isn't something that we should fundamentally protect? That it's not something in of itself worthwhile to have more of a workforce? Have an increase in the number of people.
Jordan Peterson doesn't make any statements like that because he doesn't have a backbone. But that's where all of his statements will lead most people. Yes.
Wait, he said that equality of opportunity is fundamentally a good thing.
Yeah, but he defines equality of. But in that he sneaks in so much there, because I bet I could find a video of him saying it, and if you can link me something different, I would be astounded. He probably says things where I believe in equality of opportunity for everybody, but the thing is that he sneaks in with that equality of opportunity, the underlying assumption that given equal access, women will overwhelmingly choose to stay at home and raise children. So when he says equality of opportunity, what he's essentially saying is he's already baked in his social conservatism into that answer. If you had you have something different, I would love to see a clip. No. Hold on. Here's what I'm asking. Here's what I'm asking. I would love to see it. If there was a clip of Jordan Peterson where he says, "Oh, well, women face a lot of problems in the workplace, and I think there are a lot of things that we can do to overcome these problems so that women can be more integrated into the workplace." I would love to see a clip of Jordan Peterson saying something like that.
Well, I mean, I can't think of it.
I don't think he's ever, because he doesn't make that argument.
No. Look, there's kind of two ways I want to go here. I'd rather focus on the thing you said about he bakes into his equality of opportunity the belief that women are going to choose to go into child raising or whatever, right? Into staying home from the workplace.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you disagree with that? You don't think that that's something that's statistically going to be the norm?
Wait, disagree with what?
That women overall, in terms of like, if you're going to choose about going into the workplace full time or raising children, the majority of women aren't going to choose to, or not even majority, that a really high proportion of women are going to choose to go to raise children. You don't disagree? You don't agree with that?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like women given more freedoms overwhelmingly make the choice to delay having children.
I mean, but if you look at the meme data that you talk about, like, that's not supported. You can't support that viewpoint.
I absolutely can. As women are given more access to reproductive freedoms, they're having less and less children. What do you mean?
Yeah, but they're leaving the workplace when they hit their 30s, and they're choosing very specific types of jobs.
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're using an outlier. You're talking about, like, the people at the top of their careers leave their workplace because it's too hard.
There's a gender pay gap.
Do you disagree?
How's that an outlier?
Do you disagree?
There's a gender pay gap. Women are getting paid less overall than men. That's not an outlier.
Okay. We're talking about whether or not women are making choices to have children less and less. I believe that's supported empirically by my data. We can pour through that if you'd like to. And now you're bringing up some other weird argument about different...
I think that the argument isn't necessarily that they're having less and less children. It's what proportion are they dedicating to work versus their home life, right? And that
Okay.
Is the current gender pay gap justifiable?
I don't know. Real quick, can we watch this? Let's watch this. It's a minute 30-second clip. Let me know when you got it loaded. We'll watch it together. We'll start it at the same time, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay.
I do think.
What was your... Yeah, I've seen this clip.
Okay. How can you come away from this? 2 major points. One, when somebody asks you, if somebody would ask me, do you think that men and women can work together in the workplace? I probably wouldn't answer, I don't know, maybe not, we'll see. These probably wouldn't be answers I would give if I genuinely thought they could. Do you understand how it's easy to watch a clip like that and to come away thinking that Jordan Peterson probably thinks men and women shouldn't work together in the workplace?
No, but the thing is, it's in the context of, is acceptable with the rate of like sexual harassment or with the complaints about sexual harassment that we've been seeing, right? Is that something that we can reasonably expect to get rid of?
I don't see why not.
Harassment?
Sure.
Right, but that's the problem, is that you don't see why not, but we've been on this path of trying to get rid of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's improved to a certain extent, but we don't even know what we're after. We don't even know what the fundamental goal is.
The fundamental goal is to not get women...
No one makes complaints?
Why are you nirvana fallacying me? Wait, stop.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't aim at that. I'm saying that the aim isn't specific enough.
I think that I don't think we need an ultra-specific aim. I think a general aim of we shouldn't harass each other at the workplace for gender-specific things. I think that's an okay goal without it being more specific than that.
But in the current climate of attitudes of what defines gender, what defines harassment, men are fundamentally patriarchal, the society is fundamentally biased against women, that's a very difficult situation in which to make reasonable claims.
You're not making an argument. That's difficult? So then we shouldn't
have
goals?
Difficult, and that's what he's saying.
No!
You're projecting the fact that because he says it's difficult, he's saying we shouldn't do it. But that's not what he's saying.
Okay.
He's saying that it's difficult.
We can go into college essay form if you want. We can rewatch the clip, and I can give you lines of text from the clip that I would argue support my argument that Jordan Peterson seems to hold the belief that women shouldn't work in the workforce together. Do you think that I would be able to do that adequately if I were to try? Or do you think I would have a very hard time making that argument?
I think you make a fundamental assumption that pointing out a problem is the same thing as saying that thing shouldn't happen.
No, it wasn't just pointing out a problem. It was pointing out a problem and saying he didn't know if any solutions existed.
Well, I mean... How is he like omniscient? Why would you expect him to have that solution? Like,
do you feel? Hold on. I'm reaching out to you as a fellow human being. Do you feel uncomfortable making this argument right now? Are you feeling a little bit of discomfort? Like, am I being full of shit right now? Like,
do
you think it requires him to be omniscient to not say, well, I don't know if men and women could ever work together in the workplace? Does that really require omniscience?
Well, I think he was specifically saying in terms of having no sexual harassment.
Really?
That was what that conversation was about. That was what that whole conversation was about. That's the context of that conversation.
He's not sure if it's possible to strive for a workplace with no sexual harassment, unless he's omniscient.
Depending on the definition of sexual harassment. That's why he brings up makeup. Right? We don't even know what necessarily should define sexual harassment.
Okay, no. He brought up makeup because he brought up makeup because he thinks that defines sexual attraction, not harassment. And he went as far as to make the claim that a woman that wears makeup at the workplace is inviting sexual harassment. These are the types of attitude. When people point to patriarchy and shit, those are the types of... Well, okay, hold on. We need to... No. We have to rewatch it. We got to rewatch it. We have to rewatch it. We'll rewatch the last 20 seconds, okay?
Do I have to play again? Because
Yep, go back. We'll rewatch it, okay? Go to... Here. Go to 1, I don't remember when he starts it, but go to 110, okay? Let me know when you're at 110 and we'll load it again, okay?
110, okay, yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Exaggerate sexual attractiveness. That's what high heels do. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace. I'm not saying that.
Wait. Stop.
Yes.
He just said, did you just hear what he just said?
Yeah.
He's not saying that we shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace.
Yes, he's doing everything that I accuse him of doing. The Jordan Peterson cop-out, where he says, okay, what time are you at right now?
Why don't you think that that's
stop! What time are you at right now? I get to talk now. What time are you at right now? Okay, now, he just said he's not saying that women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace. He said that, right? Yes?
He's saying...
Just agree with me. I'm agreeing with you. He said that he's not saying that women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace, correct? That's what he's saying, right?
Okay, fine.
Okay,
kind of.
He said that. He's not saying that he's telling women not to wear makeup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now keep playing. 3, 2, 1, go.
But I am saying that is what they're doing, and that is what they're doing.
Do you feel like a serious woman who does not want sexual harassment
keep going
in the workplace, do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay, so he says that if you wear makeup and you get sexually harassed and you complain about it, you're being hypocritical. Do you disagree with that assessment of what he just said?
No.
Okay,
no.
So now if I say, let's say that I say to you, okay, children that run in the street might get hit by cars. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't run in the street, but that might happen. And then if somebody says to me, well, hold on. So you're telling me that if a child runs in the street and is playing in the street and gets hit by a car, is that child at fault there? And I go, yeah, he is. Do you understand how weaselly this sounds?
That analogy is a bit different.
How?
Because a child doesn't have the capacity to make these decisions.
Okay, not a child, an 18-year-old teenager that gets hit by a car.
Running in the streets. If they're running in the streets and they get hit by a car, like, it's bad that happened, but, you know.
Okay, but we say if you lead to a behavior, by definition, this is the definition of morality, okay? If you lead to a behavior that results in bad outcomes, okay, you probably ought not to do that behavior. That is the definition of bad, okay? Morality is the investigation into things that we ought to do or ought not to do. And if we say something is bad, what we mean by that is that we ought to avoid it. So if you're doing something like makeup, wearing makeup, that is leading to something that is bad, would you agree that we're saying that you ought not to do that thing? These seem to be pretty clear, obvious lines to follow, because I think any reasonable person listening to this will say that Jordan Peterson is essentially saying women probably shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace. Or if you do wear makeup in the workplace, you better be ready to be sexually harassed. This is what people talk about when they talk about rape culture.
Okay, but this is the thing, is that what amount of sexual behavior are you willing to forfeit in order to allow for a functioning workplace?
My argument is that
is
that there shouldn't be any sexually promiscuous or explicit behavior in the workplace. But what we're disagreeing on...
Do you think most people are okay with that?
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, what types of sexual behavior at the workplace do you think most people are in favor of?
Like flirting?
I think that most people would argue that flirting in the workplace is probably not good for a workplace. This is why the phrase "don't." But
you don't think? Do you think people would not do it? Do you think no one does it?
This is a different argument. Whether or not people do or don't do it doesn't. We're talking about descriptive versus prescriptive. We're talking about what people should do, not what they do. So if you want to get into a descriptive argument, we can, but we're in a prescriptive argument now. We're talking about how we think people ought to act, not how people currently do act. Do a lot of people flirt in the workplace right now? Yeah, of course they do, but we're talking about whether or not they ought to act in a certain way. Generally, flirting in the workplace is probably bad. It leads to a lot of shitty situations.
Wait.
Yeah?
It's weird to me because you're saying what he's saying. You're saying that there shouldn't be any sexual displays
Yes,
in the
but
workplace.
we're disagreeing over what sexuality is. I don't think wearing makeup is sexual.
That's the problem. See, that's the issue. That's a reasonable disagreement to have.
That's not reasonable. It showcases a fundamental difference in underlying ideology. The difference between liberalism versus some archaic form of social conservatism. Okay?
The workplace is not a place for is not fundamentally a liberal situation.
No. But your values, your values are going to dramatically. Yes, your values are going to dramatically underlie how you think people should act in these environments. If your go-to is that if you wear a certain type of thing that is incredibly normalized throughout society, that like invites you to sexual harassment and you shouldn't do it, that is indicative of your underlying beliefs. Like,
of what? That.
I don't know, that if women wear certain things, they deserve to be safe. He's literally...
deserve?
Yes, Wait, hold on. We gotta talk about this exactly. No. We gotta talk about this. He literally says that if you wear makeup and get sexually harassed, that you are a hypocrite if you complain about said harassment. How is that not saying you did... Wait, you don't think that's exactly...
Last bit again. Yeah, let me listen to it one more.
Wait, where are we going? Let's go back. Let's listen together. Let's go to hold on. We're going to 125, okay? Let me know when you're ready, okay?
That's what I was. Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sexual harassment in the workplace. Do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that. Here's a question.
So he says that if a woman gets harassed in the workplace and is wearing makeup, that she's being somewhat hypocritical if she complains about it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, so like I was saying, wearing makeup it's a sexual thing.
Then why isn't shaving sexual?
Because it's about uniformity between men.
Why can't makeup... You realize that when women...
Let me
finish, please. Let me finish. You realize that women wear makeup to fit a societal standard of beauty. That the act of wearing makeup is literally uniformity. Do you not understand that?
In terms of beauty, men don't wear suits for beauty. They wear it for function. Those are two different things.
I'm sorry. How in the fuck do you wear a suit for function? What the fuck does that mean?
It's about uniformity in a workplace.
Okay, makeup can have the function of uniformity. How does a suit...
It can have it, but you just said it's a societal standard of beauty.
The same way that men wearing suits is. What is the function of wearing a suit at a funeral or at a wedding?
It's about... It's a social... It's uniformity. How many times?
It's a social... Oh, you were so close. No, you were right there. You're right there. It's a what? It's a societal expectation of beauty. Just like wearing makeup is.
Not beauty. No, it's about uniformity.
Uniformity, why? Wait, hold on. Why do you... Uniformity, how? What are you being uniform to?
Because all suits are pretty much the same.
Okay, and you are conforming to a what? What are you conforming to?
Societal standard.
Societal standard of what?
You really think that do you think that that's beauty?
Well, how about a societal standard of appearance? Do you think?
Yeah, but that's not a deep enough answer.
Then that's
not a deep enough answer. Because they're both types of appearance, but they're not the same thing. Makeup, the value of appearance, the value you get from wearing makeup, and the value you get from wearing a suit aren't fundamentally the same thing, especially in a workplace.
You don't think so?
I mean,
you don't think that a woman might show up to a workplace with no makeup on and somebody treats her differently or says like, hey, like you look sick right now because you're not wearing any makeup or whatever and you look very strange. You don't think that ever happens to women?
I think that happens now because we haven't organized the function of feminine attractiveness or whatever in the workplace. What part it should play. We haven't organized what that is.
Okay.
Like,
I don't see, and I don't believe you have demonstrated to me, we cannot move from this point. I do not see the fundamental difference between shaving, combing, hair transplant surgery, all these things that men do, versus getting your teeth straightened and whitened. I don't see the difference between that and a woman wearing makeup.
Because you have to look at how these things developed historically. Is that Andy Milonakis?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh my God.
What is function historically? What does that mean? Why does that...
Like,
wait, I'm sorry, I don't care what it means. Why does it matter? Shouldn't we be looking at how things...
It informs the attitudes that we have now.
Okay. And what are the attitudes that we have now towards makeup? That if a woman wears makeup, we necessarily can treat her as a sexual object, or?
Lol.
Not, or, I mean, not a sexual object, but that it is sexual in its nature, or that historically the fundamental nature of women was sexual, but it's not anymore. But we haven't organized that yet.
You don't think we've organized society in such a way today that women can be seen as like professionals and non-sexual objects? That doesn't happen yet?
I don't think we've untangled all the fibers yet.
I've never nirvana. So when I say nirvana fallacy, what I'm saying is you're telling me, well, this isn't perfect yet. I'm not going to say that it is, but we've gotten a lot better at it. We've made a lot of improvements. We've made a lot of strides.
Yeah, we have. But the fundamental point that he's making is that there's still
guys
problems.
Wear makeup.
Okay, that's fine. I acknowledge that. But that's not one of the. But we disagree because he blames women for the problems, and I say it's probably something that both of us can work on.
I don't know how you can say he's blaming women.
Sure. So let me
explain.
Because he
said it was
let me explain. Okay. If you do something, if you commit an action and a consequence results from that action, and then somebody says that consequence was a result of your action, what you're engaging in there is blame. You're saying that you are responsible for that consequence. So when a woman wears makeup in the workplace and then gets sexually harassed and complains about it, and you call them a hypocrite, what you are implying is that that woman's action had the consequence, the deserved consequence of getting sexually harassed. Do you disagree with any of that logic?
Not necessarily. No, I don't. But he's not only blaming women.
Okay. Can you tell?
Right, because...
Okay, wait. I'm very curious, okay? And I'm not going to hold you to this, because I don't ever do this, even though people accuse me of it all the time. But I'm very curious if you can think of, if you have a clip, that'd be great. But can you think of times where Jordan Peterson has said, these are things that men should do differently in the workplace to respect women?
I don't want to disrupt, but could you please put your ear flip into the headset? My OCD is slowly tearing the life out of me.
Less casual or...
So he's made all of these prescriptive statements. He's made all of these prescriptive statements towards women in the workplace. Don't wear high heels. Don't wear dresses. Don't wear makeup. But you can't think of anything he said towards men.
Wait, haven't we spent like 30 years telling men how to act in the workplace in relationship to women, not to treat them as sexual objects, and to not make unwanted advancements? Like, these things are kind of a given, aren't they? Like, we've been doing that for a very long time.
They're clearly not. Because when you tell somebody that they shouldn't do something, if they do something, you're typically not going to blame the person that they did it to. So this is why people, I don't know, maybe you don't believe in rape culture, whatever. You sound like you don't, but I could be wrong. But this is why people say a rape culture exists, is when a woman is sexually harassed because of the way that she looks, and then somebody says that, well, what was she wearing? People say, hey, that's kind of indicative of rape culture. It's almost like you're saying, because a woman presents herself in a certain way, she is inviting reasonable levels of harassment, justified harassment. And what Peterson said at the end of this clip, that if a woman complains about being sexually harassed because she's wearing makeup, that's rape culture. That's exactly what that is.
Okay, I think I have a question. Your definition of sexual harassment, does it necessarily have anything to do with malice on the part of the man?
Not necessarily, no. Not necessarily, no.
On the part of the man. Okay, so, like, then how can you call it blame if you're not saying that they deserve it? Like, he's not saying women deserve it.
Yes,
he's saying that the fundamental result is already known. That if I throw a ball, it's going to get thrown, right? If I throw a ball and then I get mad that it was thrown, I'm a hypocrite.
Let's say this. Let's say somebody made this statement. Let's say somebody made this statement. Let's say somebody makes this statement. Okay, if you go to if you go to like a bar or something in California, how many shootings have we had so far? And you get killed. I mean, that's kind of your fault. Like, you know that there are shootings that occur. Why would you go to places like Las Vegas? Why would you go to places, especially like gay bars and stuff? You know that people get killed there. If you go to a place like that and you're a victim of a shooting, you're kind of a hypocrite if you complain about it. Do you think that I could make this statement fairly? And if I can't...
I think that statement would be more fairly made if you made it about, like, joining the army. And then you get shot. I think that's a more comparative statement.
Gotcha.
And it's not about the level
So you
of
think
blame.
that if you join the military and are shot by another nation's troops that feel like they have justification to do it, that the justification that an enemy combatant has for shooting at you is the same level of justification that a man has for sexually harassing a woman who wears makeup?
Not level, it's the same type.
Okay,
right?
So if you're so being a woman and wearing makeup should mean that you're ready to get sexually harassed the same way as signing up for the military and going to another country to kill people should expect to be attacked back. That's on an instant level.
And not sexual harassment, although, I mean...
But that's what we're talking about in this clip, is sexual harassment.
But this is where we walk into another issue, is that sexual harassment in and of itself is difficult to define.
No, it's not. It's very simple. The
definition of it now is the fact that someone complains about it happening. That's not
the definition of sexual harassment. No, it's
not. How it's been acted out now.
No, it's not.
But that's how it's played out.
Wait, I'm just curious, though, then, and no, that's not how it plays out. So, I mean, if you want to say that, then that's how every single crime in the world plays out. That every crime is just somebody complaining about something happening. Sometimes it's the state complaining and then the DA filing charges, and sometimes it's a person complaining and you go to civil court. I mean, like, if you want to make it that vacuous.
No. I'm saying that if we're going to put rules into place,
yeah,
our definition can't be subjective. Fundamentally.
They're not. If you go to any place that you work at, you can probably ask your manager, hey, is there a list of guidelines for how we should behave from HR? And I guarantee you that they will be able to email you or provide you a paper copy. In fact, you probably received something like this at any orientation you go to as you sign up for work. In fact, as part of your new hire orientation, there's a very good chance that if this was a corporate job, you had to actually watch a specific video related to sexual guidelines of the workplace.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yeah?
In the current climate, a man, I don't know, says a woman looks nice. A woman goes to HR and complains and says that was sexual harassment. Is HR going to turn her away and say you're being unreasonable? Is that something you reasonably see happening? Because
I don't think that there is this epidemic of the Me Too movement about men going up to women and saying they look nice. That's usually like not. If this happens, I disagree with it. But I don't think that this is a thing that realistically happens a lot in society.
But that's the thing that he's talking about. He's saying that there aren't reasonable standards of like presumption of innocence in the Me Too movement because we don't have a reasonable enough conversation about what actually sexual harassment is.
No,
we can't.
I fully and wholly reject
overall,
this.
Not just in that video.
I think that
overall, that's what he's saying.
I think that I should be banned from Twitch because I think that there is a good probability that that argument could result in metastasizing cancer being developed right now to everybody that just heard it. Okay, you right now, and this is the nature of all Peterson fans and Peterson himself. I don't know if you realize you're doing this, okay? But we have taken a man that has specifically said, if a woman gets sexually harassed at the workplace for wearing makeup, she deserves it. And you've managed to yes, and you've watered this down, and you've watered this down to, well, should men be able to say that women look nice? This is so dishonest.
See,
the level of dishonesty is astounding to me.
You're looking at this way too one-dimensionally.
I'm looking at the words that he says.
To say that it's hypocritical is not the same thing as saying that it's deserved.
Really? Then tell me, what does he mean by hypocritical in this sentence?
He means that you're not acting well enough to solve the problem. It's not that you deserve to get sexually harassed. It's that the way that you're acting isn't good enough to stop the thing you're complaining about. That's like, you can't fundamentally expect you can't put it at the feet of women to stop sexual harassment, but like your complaint isn't commensurate with the fact that you want to be having sexual displays.
Have you ever done shrooms before? You ever do psychedelics?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, but some solid stuff too.
Oh, cool. Okay, I feel like I'm having my ego death. I think our realities are diverging so much right now that I just can't access the dimension that you're in. I'm like, I
just think
if you're gonna sit here and unironically tell me that if one person says that you're being a hypocrite for complaining about a problem that you're inviting, that's not placing some level of blame on the person that's inviting the problem. Like I don't think
you can say a woman is consciously trying to be sexual when they wear makeup.
It's not about it's like this is like so ridiculous. Like it's
it's an argument of philosophy, right? It's, do these viewpoints follow from each other? And they don't.
What do you mean?
Does the viewpoint that you should fundamentally be allowed to display yourself sexually in the workplace align with your ability
Why are we
to
restating
decry
this point?
sexual activity
Wait,
in the workplace.
why are we restating?
Because
Wait, we didn't even agree that makeup was sexual. We got stuck on that, remember?
okay, yeah. And if you don't, I mean, isn't that a reasonable disagreement to have? Like, isn't that a viewpoint you can see someone having and saying, I don't agree with you, but, you know, maybe you have a point.
No, I don't think you have a point that a woman wearing makeup is like an inherently sexual act, the same way as anything else that should invite discrimination.
But, okay. And I think that's the disagreement, isn't it? Right? Even though he's not really pushing for no makeup, it's the point that
okay,
sexual
you're
activity
doing it again. When you say that he's not pushing for no makeup, but he's saying that if you wear makeup, but he's saying that if you, it doesn't matter what he says, because immediately after he says that if you wear makeup, you're inviting sexual harassment.
That's why I went on that whole thing about saying that it's a philosophical argument of trying to nail down functional rules. It's not about blame. There's no necessity to assign blame in these situations.
But there is. If you say that somebody is being a hypocrite for something, it sounds like you're blaming them for what they're doing. I don't normally hear people call people hypocrites otherwise, unless they're assigning some level of blame to the agent acting. That's the whole point of calling somebody a hypocrite.
Yeah, but like, it's not, his conversation isn't about defining what people are doing. It's about aligning the situation to create a functional workplace. It's goal-oriented. It doesn't really matter what the moral judgments are. It's what is it you want to happen, and how do you get there?
Okay.
That's not nothing
and
to
when
do
you
with
ask
blaming
those
people.
questions, his response is, I don't know if men and women can ever work together. Do you not see the problem?
Without sexual... Okay. And I mean... Okay, now that you said that, I guess I kind of see why you would assume that that's what he means. But I just think he's talking about something different.
What do you mean
men
by
and women
something?
specifically.
Men and women
I'm saying
specifically is what the conversation is about.
It's about them in the workplace or in different contexts. It's about relationships between men and women in different contexts.
No, it's
Right?
not. It's about in the context of the workplace. I think you're just using a lot of words right now. I don't think it's about different contexts at all. It's literally about men and women in the workplace. This is a very straightforward video.
Okay, wait, let's go back a bit. What do you think would motivate him to make the argument shouldn't be in the workplace?
Okay,
easy.
here is how I view Jordan Peterson. Now, through my lens, everything he says makes sense. Jordan Peterson believes that men and women have very specific roles, and he would point to something like Jungian archetypes to justify this. He would say men and women have fit certain roles throughout all of human history, and it seems like there is a sort of pervasive story or archetype that is pervasive in all of society and all of man's society that makes it seem as though we ought to prescribe certain roles to men and women. And now, knowing that Jordan Peterson believes that men and women should act in certain ways, if I look at this entire interview, everything he says makes perfect sense. Can men and women work together? I don't know. They never have in human history before. I don't have any archetypes from my good friend Carl that tell me that they should, so I don't really necessarily believe that they can. That makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. So, okay, let's go back onto that thing that you're saying about archetype, right?
Okay.
He's talked about differences between men and women, and he said on several occasions that for the majority of the time, men and women are more the same than different.
Okay.
So if he believes that, why would it be unreasonable to believe that he believes women can be in the workplace if they're more similar to men than they are different?
Because if you ask somebody, do you think men and women can work together? A person who thinks that they can doesn't answer, I don't know. We'll see in 40 years. They're not now. Maybe not. These aren't the answers that somebody would give if you expect that they believe that men and women can work together in the workplace. When we're trying to ascertain what somebody believes, we have to engage in inductive reasoning. We cannot deductively know ever what another person believes, or not yet, not with our level of technology. So in order for me to figure out what a person believes, I have to take a series of statements and generalize them to make a probable statement. Deductive reasoning tells us that the conclusion must necessarily logically follow. Inductive reasoning says, taking a set of statements, I can probabilistically believe in a certain thing. So now I have to figure out, does Jordan Peterson think men and women can work together in the workplace? Well, I don't know. Based on his answers, it sure as fuck doesn't seem like it, and I think any reasonable person would come to the exact same conclusion. That given a transcript... Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So if we're gonna say inductively reasoning, okay, you have this thing that he said he doesn't know whether or not men and women. First of all, I'd like to point out this is in the context of reduced or without sexual harassment. Okay, so then let's look at other things he said. Men and women are fundamentally more different, or more the same than different. He's helped, or in his clinical practice, he helps women to get to progress in the workplace.
Do you understand what it? Do you know?
Saying that the archetypal nature of men and women are fundamentally.
I don't care.
Why?
Because this is all non sequitur. None of this is proving your argument.
How?
Because I could say black people and white people are 99% the same. Black people and white people are 99% the same. Black people and white people are 99% the same. And then somebody says, "Do you think that the difference in IQ between black and white people is due to genetics completely or environmental stuff?" And you go, "Well, probably genetics. But I think they're mostly the same. But I think the difference in IQ is genetic." Just because I'm saying that they're mostly the same doesn't mean that I can't also simultaneously hold the view that there is some irreconcilable difference in the way that we present ourselves in the workplace. These arguments have nothing to do with one another. I don't care what he said about how similar men and women are. Mostly the same means that he's leaving enough room for them to be different enough to never work together in the workplace.
But the thing that you're missing is, I mean, first of all, like, women and men are working together in the workplace right now, and he knows that.
No! He specifically in this interview makes it sound like that is an untenable. He makes it sound like women and men are not working together well in the workplace right now. Would you like to listen to it again?
In terms of the context of the conversation that was going on about sexual harassment.
He specifically says that he specifically says that it is deteriorating right now, which makes it sound like women and men are not working together successfully in the workplace.
In the context of sexual harassment.
He said it's getting worse.
Are women fit for the workplace?
Yeah, he said it's getting worse in the workplace. That makes it sound like, no, it doesn't sound like they're working together well.
I mean...
He said deteriorating rapidly. We can watch it again if you'd like, if you feel like I'm misquoting him.
We did say that. And this is the annoying thing. It's because I know you've been in this position where you're trying to argue something and you're going to have to go into a lot more things, but I'm gonna sound like I'm freaking talking shit. But what he's talking about in terms of the deterioration in the relationships between men and women in the workplace is about social attitudes towards men and women in the workplace, not the actual functionality. No. What do you think he means when he talks about the Me Too movement?
The question here wasn't about social attitudes. It was about whether men and women could ever work together. That is the context of this conversation.
That's the context of that one question. Or no, that's the wording of that one question.
Is whether
the context of the conversation was all about the social relationship or the social attitudes, the relationship between men and women, specifically in the workplace. If you're already going down that track, this is essentially what you've done is clip out a sentence out of something. I think it was like a 40-minute or half an hour conversation. You don't have enough context to make that claim.
If you want, we can watch the whole thing. People always complain that this has been edited. Peterson fans love to do this. Oh, it's edited. Oh, the whole video is not enough. You need to watch his lecture on it. Oh, the lecture is not enough. You need to read his books. Peterson fans constantly retreat. If you want, we can watch the whole thing right now. I've watched it all. And to be honest, the edit makes him look better. The actual conversation is worse than the edits that Vice has posted. If you want, we can go through the entire video right now. I'm willing to do that with you. I think it makes him look way worse.
Hating women and gaming. Name a more iconic duo.
Okay, hold on. Let's find YouTube. Okay, so Vice, Peterson, interview, women. I think it's 30 minutes or... There's a 10-minute clip. I think the full thing is isn't it 20 or 30 minutes? Oh, full. The missing parts. Okay,
I hate that video.
Here's a question.
That's
movie, of course, should be...
Here's a question.
Well, I post...
Okay. This is a 17-minute video. It's not even that long. I'm going to link it to you right here.
Okay. Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Now, go to the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Here's a question.
Well, I post...
Here's a question. Let's have a real question. Can men and women work together in the workplace?
Yes, I do it.
How do you know?
Because I work with a lot of women.
Right. Well, it's been happening for, 40 years? And things are deteriorating very rapidly at the moment in terms of the relationships between men and women.
Stop. Okay. So let's... So far, now, I'm not going to be mean, okay? I'm just, my impression thus far, okay? So my impression thus far, he asks a question. Can X thing occur? The person responds in the affirmative. Yes, it can occur. And then he says, really? How do you know that? And the guy gives an explanation why, and then he gives another rebuttal. And he says, well, things are deteriorating more than they ever have. My impression thus far, in
terms of relationships between
you. My impression thus far is that Jordan Peterson does not think that men and women can work together in the workplace. Do you think that's fair thus far in the first 17 seconds or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so then, okay. So I'm at 17 seconds. Where are you at?
20.
Wait, you're at 20?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get to 20. Hold on.
It's like we don't know if men and women can work together successfully.
But in what way?
Okay. So 20. Now we're going to start again, okay? Let me know when you're ready. Ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Because like
in the sexual harassment way.
Because 40 years ago I would have been, well, I don't know, if I was a white man, I would have been Jackson's boss and I could have done whatever I wanted, right? And that there would be almost no recourse that a woman who's working under me would have. Now they have some recourse. I mean, is that a...
There was recourse back then too. You could take people to the police.
You could do you think that was happening? I mean, like,
I think it's a dreadful thing to have to go to the police.
Stop. Hold on. Sorry. I'm at 45 seconds. What did you just say?
I was saying, did you hear him say in a sexual harassment way? Did you hear him say that? I think it was at 20 seconds.
Sure.
Do you not see how that fundamentally changes the context of the conversation?
Not at all. No. Just
Why
because
not?
he says in a because
sexual harassment. Not women being in the workplace overall. It's about them being in the workplace together in terms of sexual harassment. Because this whole conversation is about Me Too.
Do you ever? Are you like a Pizzagate or anything? Well, like the problem is like you're reading.
I'm
this,
not Pizzagate.
Like,
to be honest, like
you're reading this like so insanely disingenuously. I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just because
I don't know why would you call that disingenuous.
Because
it
the first question is literally can men and women like okay? Can you tell me that
in a sexual harassment?
If you answer yes to this question, then I will believe you in everything. Do you believe that Jordan Peterson is one of the worst, most fucking idiotic speakers of all time? Is one of the most ineloquent, ridiculously horrible fucking speakers of all time? If you answer yes to that question, then I'll agree with you.
Oh man, no.
No?
Come
okay.
on.
Then you're either being dishonest or you're so blinded by your fanboyism.
No, look.
Okay, let's go back to the very beginning then and listen to it again, okay? What I'm telling you is that people that believe that men and women can work together in the workplace do not make statements like this, okay?
You're missing the sexual harassment element.
Because you're taking one itty-bitty tiny sentence and you're trying to go back and say, whoa, hold on. None of that actually matters. Like,
you don't see how that conversation...
I think it's a dreadful thing to have to go to the police.
I think it's more likely that now he's talking in specific regards to deterioration. Now he's talking specifically about sexual harassment. But at the very beginning of this conversation, he very, very, very clearly, in specific words, very clearly, specifically stated, can men and women work together in the workplace? Not can they work in the workplace free of sexual harassment? Not can men and women ever overcome sexual harassment? Not is it possible to make rules and make it so women aren't sexually harassed? He said very specifically, can men and women work together in the workplace? There is no ambiguity there. There's no way to insert a more charitable reading of what he's saying. It's very obvious and clear what's being said.
Dude, it is obvious. You're gonna get mad.
Yeah, I'm gonna get mad because every time I debate a Peterson fanboy, I can only go by what Peterson says, but you guys have access to the second reality where you ascribe to him the most insanely charitable views of every single possible thing he says because you know that the normative claims you're making are so insanely indefensible that you don't have the balls to actually defend them to me. If you want to talk about a woman's assigned role in society, that a woman should be there for creating babies, we can have that conversation. I think you can make good arguments. Did you know that the human population is dwindling out because women aren't making the choice to have kids? That's actually a fact. We could talk about that. Did you know that in countries where women are having tons of kids, we're going to start to lose out to them economically? We might even lose our place in the world. That's an argument that you can make for making that women should have babies. Did you know that it might be possible that maybe the societal structure we have right now is something we've never seen before, and maybe we can't actually survive this way where women are working as much as men? Maybe it demasculates men or faces some biological role that we actually can't handle changing. These are all legitimate arguments to make in saying women should not be allowed to work in the workplace. I like to have those arguments. What I don't like to have is a person sitting here telling me that when Jordan Peterson says he's not sure if women can work together in the workplace, that Jordan Peterson is not saying that he's not sure if women can't work together in the workplace. It's this.
Let me say this, okay? If Jordan Peterson is saying that men and women, or that there shouldn't be women in the workplace, then I disagree with him. Does that ease your
sure. But he's never going to come out to say that because he doesn't have the backbone to say it. But let's start from 45 seconds and we'll just listen some more. We'll just, instead of pausing every now and then, let's just listen to get a general impression of the other, okay? I'm at 45 seconds. Let me know when you're ready to go, okay?
Yeah, and whole video, I think.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm there.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Sexually assaulted.
If you feel like there's a reduction in harm, right? That things are better. So you feel like right now the atmosphere in corporate workplace is the exact same that it was 40 years ago?
No, but I'm not sure. I'm not saying that it's any better.
It's not any better.
Well, maybe it is.
What is? I guess like not to ask you.
I'm sorry. I have to stop. Do you not feel how fucking weaselly these answers are? Like, do you think it's the same? So, do you think it's the same as it was before? Well, no. Do you think it's better? Well, no. Is it worse? Well, I don't know. Well, what is it? I'm not sure. Like, what are these answers?
Because you can't have an opinion on something if you don't have a basis for having that opinion.
Then if he doesn't know if it's gotten... So here, he says he doesn't know if it's gotten better or not, but earlier, he said that things were deteriorating rapidly. Which one is it? In terms of sexual harassment? So wait, in terms of sexual harassment, so is he saying that... So is he saying that sexual harassment has gotten worse, then is he saying like other things have gotten better, and these things are like a wash?
The relationships between men and women in the current climate, in the context of the Me Too movement. You understand? Like,
so things have gotten worse.
Yeah, because
then why not say that?
Do you not hear how people? Because that's not what he's not saying. That the workplace is worse.
Wait, more sexual harassment in the workplace isn't worse?
No, I don't even think he would say that there's more sexual harassment. I think.
Then why would he say things are deteriorating?
He's saying that the way people look at these things has gotten worse.
Okay, let's see if he says how. What time are you at right now?
I'm at 109.
Okay, hold on.
Prove a negative, but I think that there's plenty of evidence.
Okay, we're gonna say 3, 2, 1, go.
If you look at all the stories that are coming out, do you not feel like any of the stories that you've heard about what Hollywood is like, do you feel like that's not evidence that this is a problem?
Evidence that Hollywood is a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I look at Hollywood, all these people coming out of Hollywood talking about how sexual misbehavior is a problem, and I think people in Hollywood are talking about that. They've been capitalizing on sexual misbehavior for like 100 years.
But that, I mean, look, those
wait,
are
can we stop there? Can we stop there? The Hollywood thing.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I think that offers a very useful way into understanding the kinds of things that he's talking about, or at the way that he's looking at it.
Are you sure you want to go down this road? That you're going to tell me that when people... So this is like the same argument when people were saying that one lady is against guns, but in the Halloween movie, she holds a gun. Are we really going to go down the route that having...
I don't agree with his opinion on Hollywood.
Then why would we stop here to defend it? Maybe we should just keep going.
Because the context it provides changes what it is you think he's saying. Right? For someone to say...
I don't know what he's saying. He said nothing of substance. This is my whole critique.
Listen.
Yeah.
For someone to say that the way Hollywood talks about the sexual relationships between people is fueling sexual degeneracy or whatever it is he might describe it as.
We haven't even gotten to sexual degeneracy.
Oh, no, he's saying like because there's been a deterioration in sexual relationships between men and women. That's the whole thing.
I thought he said there was a deterioration in the workplace with regards to sexual harassment.
But this is the thing. He sees that all as one thing.
Okay.
He sees that sex is a thing, right?
Yeah.
And you...
Maybe he needs to inject a little... Maybe he needs a little bit of feminism in his life, where we can have people that are sexual that don't have to be constantly sexually harassed. We can have people that dress in certain ways that doesn't invite... This is like what you're talking about.
And I agree with you on that.
Okay. Well, because everything you're giving right now is all the defense of rape culture. Like, that's what you're saying. Like,
but I'm saying that the world works a certain way. People work a certain way. If you introduce sex into a relationship or into a situation, you're going to get certain outcomes.
Okay,
that's going
we're
to
talking
be how
about
it works.
description.
So
because we're talking about description versus prescription. We're talking about describing the world as it is versus recommending actions we take to remedy that.
But recommending actions for it is not it's not saying like, oh, you just shouldn't do that. Because that's not going to fix the problem.
No, but somebody saying you shouldn't do that to one person versus another is indicative of their underlying thought process. When you tell a woman you shouldn't wear makeup because if you are, you're going to get sexually harassed is a lot different than telling a man, hey, you shouldn't sexually harass a woman just because she wears makeup.
What's a sexy thing for a man to wear? what's a sexy, not smart thing for a man to wear? You know, like
not
I'm trying to form an
Speedos.
argument. Huh?
I don't know. What do you mean? What is a sexy?
Yeah, see, this is the thing, right? Like, if you're a woman,
yeah,
like if you wear a suit versus if you wear, I don't know.
Well, for men, it would be, I don't know, it could be any, it could be a suit. Men wear suits sometimes and it's sexy. It could be any type of button-up shirt.
You can't distinguish between wearing a suit for work because the reason that a suit looks good is because it shows that you have a job.
It's also sexual to some extent as well. We don't put shoulder. We don't put. No, you don't put shoulder pads in suits because they help you be a better typist. You do it to broaden your wings, to broaden your shoulders, so that you look more domineering, so that you accentuate a masculine feature that you may or may not already have.
Masculine, yeah. Okay, so here's an. Oh wait. Okay, wait. Masculine versus feminine in the sexual field are fundamentally different. Do you agree with that? Like being masculine and sexual and being feminine and sexual are fundamentally two different things.
How?
Right. The masculine nature of sexuality is fundamentally it is based on being able to achieve certain things. I don't know, being able to hunt, being able to get a job, being able to win a fight, whatever. Being able to fundamentally achieve certain goals. Feminine sexuality is about being able to reproduce. It's purely it's got nothing to do with action. It's nothing to do with function. Okay. These are two different things. But the workplace is a fundamentally functional place.
No, stop. Okay. I could reduce both of these arguments to each other. You realize that, right? The only reason why being able to win a fight or look attractive or have a job is so that you can support offspring. It's reproduction. No?
Yeah, but the men and women go about reproduction in different ways.
But both of these can be reduced to reproduction. Like, it's not...
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's all fundamentally based on reproduction.
Then it's vacuous. Then the claim is vacuous and we should move on.
No, it's not. It's not. Because the way they play themselves out is fundamentally different.
Okay, here, can you explain this? I am able to go to a place and I could see a woman wearing makeup and not immediately fuck her. Do you think that do you think that most people could probably do that?
Yeah.
Do you think that most people could treat somebody else like a human being, even if they're wearing makeup? Do you think that's possible? Even if you wear makeup, you could actually treat somebody like an autonomous human being that isn't just there for you to fuck. Do you think that's possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
So then why?
But we're not talking about how people act. We're talking about achieving no sexual harassment in the workplace. We're not talking about like how should you treat
and
someone.
We've made good strides towards that. So why not?
I agree with that.
Okay, all right. What time are you at right now? Or go ahead.
1:38. No, yeah.
Okay. 1:38. Do you want to just keep going? Let's just listen to some more, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
In a lot of ways. Yeah, like you as a professor should know like about correlation and causation. Like you're basically saying, well, you know, there have been movies with sex in it, therefore a PA on the set of a movie, of course, should be expected to be sexually harassed.
No, I'm saying
no, those two are separate worlds in any sort of pure logical sense. Like that is just a classic mix-up of correlation and
why
causation
are they separate worlds? We don't know how to draw the boundaries.
Because
so here's the question.
So you feel like any movie that has like if you talk about sex in your classroom, or if you talk about sort of sexual behavior in your classroom, and another classroom does not talk about sexual behavior at all, you feel like your classroom would have a higher chance or a higher incidence rate of sexual assault or harassment?
No, but I would say that if I was part of an organization that built entire dozens of careers on sexual provocativeness, I would be very careful about like waving the ethical flag in the sexual wars. So you think Hollywood doesn't exploit sex? Hasn't the feminists been saying that for 30 years? The entire entertainment industry does nothing but exploit women sexually. Is that true or not? And if it is true, then aren't they contributing to the problem? And if they're contributing to the problem, then where's all the ethical...
Okay, stop. I have to stop because I'm not supposed to platform extremism because I'm a public figure. So what a feminist would say here is that there is a difference between exploiting a woman as a sexual object versus recognizing a woman can have sexual value. So for instance, I could go out and I could see a woman and think, wow, she's sexy, versus the purpose of her existence is to please my penis. That these are two fundamentally different things. That a woman can go out, wear a sexy outfit, and be sexual. That doesn't give me explicit permission to harass her or treat her as a sexual object. That this is not
okay.
But people like Peterson, because they have very socially conservative views, are incapable of making that distinction. That any woman that dresses provocatively necessarily is 100% provocative their entire life. That they can't have these separate modes of existence. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, can I ask, like,
sure.
Say for example, I wanna get in a relationship with a girl that I know at work.
Okay.
Right? Is that fundamentally wrong?
Not fundamentally, no.
Right. I ask her out. Is that fundamentally wrong? I ask her out at work.
At work, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that at work. But outside of work, sure.
Outside of work. Outside of work, you think it would be fine?
Sure.
Okay, say I'm talking to her and I'm trying to gauge her interest in me. Like, I don't want to, like, get rejected, right? Like, I don't want to just go ask her and then she says no. I want to find out, you know, is she interested in me? So I'm going to go and try and talk to her and see if anything's going. Is that okay?
Probably not. You should probably do it outside of work.
I mean, but so.
Do you know why? This is like, really hard to know. If you're not a woman, I wouldn't expect you to know this answer. I wouldn't have known it 2 years ago.
Wait, I'm talking about like co-workers, right? Not
yes,
like
I know. So the problem here is that when you are a woman and you're even a medium level of attractiveness, it is incredibly fucking annoying and frustrating that you have guys that are constantly trying to court you at the workplace. It is a dehumanizing experience, and it makes you feel fucking worthless. That the entire purpose of you being at the office, that every coworker that comes up and engages you in a conversation is only there because they're trying to see if you either want to fuck or date. That feeling as a woman is incredibly disgusting and insanely difficult to deal with at work. And even women outside of a workplace can deal with these same problems. That here's another guy coming up to me that wants to fuck me. And I
do think that's, I think that is
so in terms of like,
right.
Should you be approaching a woman at a workplace with the intention of gauging whether or not she wants to fuck? Probably not. I don't think that's a positive work environment for women to be in. If you think that you like a woman, you're communicating with her on friendly terms, you know, like giving her your, maybe offering her your phone number or finding out like after work or something, if you can chat, like something like that is probably okay. But like pursuing those types of things during work is not, that's so uncomfortable for both parties involved.
Right. Okay, so that thing you just told me, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you would probably say most men wouldn't know that, right? That it's really dehumanizing for a woman to keep.
Correct. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So then to say that, okay, most men don't know this, only women know this, so they're the only ones who are in the position to, I guess it's good enough just for them to make it known, but at least the only way change is going to show up is for their perspective or for them to be the ones who take action.
Oh,
like,
yeah!
That's not...
Oh, yes! You just made the argument for greater representation in media. This is why people say things...
I'm with
yeah,
that.
This is why people say things like women or minority figures should have more voices in prominent media roles, because when their stories are told, it gives other people insight into how they live their lives. I love that connection. That is so good. So it is very hard... It is very hard.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is very hard for men to understand women's struggles intrinsically. And I told them I didn't until like fucking 3 or 4 years ago. And I still can't even pretend that I fully do. But yeah, this is why people argue that greater representation media is important, because what you're getting at, how can men ever know this thing? Well, if our media wasn't dominated by a certain role, and today it's gotten a lot more diverse, but as you tell more and more of certain types of stories, then men do start to understand it better because you see it more represented in media. Yeah.
So then, like, wouldn't you say that, I'm going to try and paint broad strokes here, but saying that women should be more forward in their representation of the fact that that's something that they don't like, and women shouldn't wear makeup.
Okay, wait. There's two different things here. Wait. Two different things here. So firstly, you're saying women should be more straightforward about it?
No. That the perspective of women is what's going to fix this problem more than the perspective of men.
Okay. Well, I'm saying the perspective of men because men are the bad actors here. Oh, I don't think that a woman, by virtue,
they aren't doing it willingly, though, right?
That doesn't matter. We're way. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
No.
Wait. So we are way past the point of doing anything willingly. Okay.
Yeah.
There are parents that do irreparable damage to their children in the way that they shame them for the way that they look, or for their sexuality, or in terms of how they discipline them. But they're not doing it intentionally. A lot of them legitimately do it out of love for their children. Intentionality is removed from effect.
Yeah.
Now we can talk about intention.
The point that Peterson's making.
No, it's not. We're nowhere near that. We have not even got.
Wait, okay, let me just finish the thing.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That the perspective is going to come from women. It's not saying, right, to say that we need to hear what women have to say about this because men aren't going to fix the problem. That's not the same thing as blaming a woman.
Kind of.
Right?
Can I make a statement about you? Because I understand something, okay? Can I make a statement about you? And I mean this 100%, okay? Are you ready? Okay. I don't think that you are intentionally sexist. I don't think you hate women. I don't think you even think women are less than men. I think you genuinely think that men and women should be on a somewhat equal playing field. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem that we're having right now centers around this concept of intentionality. And what's going on is I'm trying to tell you that some of your behaviors or some of the behaviors you advocate for leave women feeling fucked or are bad towards women. And I think the problem that you're having is in your mind, you have a vision of yourself, and your vision of yourself is that you are not sexist. You don't believe you're sexist, but I'm telling you that some of your behaviors might encourage sexism. And I think that a dissonance gets created there where instead of... well, real quick, instead of considering certain things, you immediately reject what I'm saying because you don't want to view yourself as sexist. Just so to be clear, I'm not saying that you are intentionally acting sexist. That you have the intent. What I'm saying is that there are certain behaviors in society that can cause sexist attitudes. This is kind of like what systemic racism or systemic sexism is about, right?
I agree with that. Yeah. I agree with you on that.
So I'm not trying to say even on Peterson. I will even because I am so goddamn charitable. It's my inner liberal coming out. Okay, my inner classical liberal. Even Peterson is probably not intrinsically sexist. I don't think he hates women. I just think that he ends up, because he doesn't hate women, he ends up taking on a lot of positions where even though he doesn't have the intentionality of being sexist, because he doesn't consider the impact on a woman, they feel very sexist to the woman, right? That when we talk about impacts of behaviors in society, sometimes we can't talk about intentionality because like you said earlier, assigning blame or blaming somebody for behavior isn't necessarily the way to go. We want to figure out the consequences of the behaviors, not the intentions of them. If the consequences of a bunch of behaviors in the workplace lead to women feeling harassed, we should fix those behaviors regardless if the intention is positive or not. Okay? Sorry, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay.
Yeah. And like, okay, so even if, and I understand you don't actually, but even if you were to say that Jordan Peterson himself isn't actually sexist, he's just trying to put out viewpoints, right? Okay. Like, his whole argument has always been that we have to put out viewpoints in order, like that's why he's all about free speech. We need to put these viewpoints out so that other people can come in and tell us, actually, if you tell me not to wear makeup in the workplace, that's not reasonable. That's an unfair standard to put on me, right? When you're not putting the same thing on men, right? Like, I don't think you can necessarily say that he's a negative influence.
Okay, but again, we have to talk about, we have to remove, because intentionality in the context of society is irrelevant, right? And you can talk to, if you ever take a liberal art or whatever, if you talk to anybody that works in music and film, in any sort of art, they'll tell you the same thing, right? Every single thing that you do, it's the concept is called the death of the artist, okay? Once you release something to the public, that dissemination is going to cause that content to be consumed in a certain way. And your intentionality is almost irrelevant when it comes to that it will be used in whatever purpose people see fit. So when I speak about certain topics, I'm very careful in how I speak about them because I know that certain people can take things I say in certain ways. So for instance, on a personal level, I'm anti-abortion because I think that a fetus is a baby. So I don't like the idea of killing fetuses. However, I am incredibly fucking clear. Anytime I say that, as I'm about to do right now, I will say that I think that abortion should remain a constitutional right in the United States. One, because I'm not comfortable ascribing my morality onto other people. I don't think in the United States we really have the right to do that. Arguably, you can get into the white and then two, because I think that this is a choice that every individual should probably be left to make. And then three, because there are better ways to reduce abortion than by just banning it. And four, because I don't think that banning it really reduces it that much anyway, or it might, but it leads to a whole bunch of other bad outcomes and women can still get abortions, et cetera, right? So even though I have a certain position, right, where I feel a certain way morally, politically, I wouldn't feel the same way, but I'm very fucking clear when I say that. Because I know that if I only say these things publicly, hey, I'm anti-abortion, that a lot of my fans will take that position, people that respect my thought process, and they might echo the same thing. However, they'll take it farther than I do. They might take it farther and say, well, I'm going to vote for somebody that's anti-abortion. Now, even though that might not have been my intention, I have to recognize that that's a consequence of my speech. Much the same way that if a whole bunch of guys are pursuing a woman at work, it might not be their intention for her to feel like shit or to feel harassed or to feel unsafe in her workplace, but that might be the consequence of what happens. Unfortunately, today, our world has gotten so complicated and we've solved so many easy problems that we need to stop looking at only the intentionality of actions and we have to look at the consequences of those actions instead. That's my point, right?
Right, and I mean, I would say that like for example, right? I've heard most of your incest debates, and you're very careful when you talk about that kind of stuff to say you're not in favor of incest, right?
Sure, yeah, I say it in every conversation.
The majority of people that then come and attack you, just because you floated the idea that incest isn't morally wrong, will already assume that you're supporting it. Can't you see that that's kind of the same thing that you're doing to Jordan Peterson?
No, because the difference is I truly believe that I make a good faith, reasonable point or reasonable effort to make it so that people don't see that. There is no shortage of you being able to find clips of me saying, hey, I don't support this. Hey, there are still problems with this, et cetera, et cetera. In every debate I have this. I cannot find those same clips of Jordan Peterson. I can't find those same clips.
Just easily say,
no, I can't find.
You just don't have a backbone. You're just being Weasley because you don't want to say that thing.
No, but I'm very clear on everything. I can't find clips of Jordan Peterson saying, I do think that men and women ought to work together in the workplace, and I do think we should find solutions to these problems. I can't find any clips of him saying that. If they exist, I would love to see them. What?
You talked about like equality of opportunity being a good thing and having an increase of workforce. Whenever he talks about like the pill and the fact that it increased the level of women in the workplace.
Yeah, but I don't care about his personal practice is different. He's getting paid money to perform a service there. That's different than his moral prescription.
Practice. His philosophy, his viewpoint is that equality of opportunity allows for the society to take advantage of all the talent as much as possible. And if it comes from men or women, that's fine. Well, that's good. Like he said that before. I don't know if I can find that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, maybe we look for it later. I don't think that's the impression that we're going to get during this interview. Where I'm at 250, I certainly haven't gotten that so far. Do you want to continue watching?
Yeah.
Okay, what time are you at?
251.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
You're arguing at that point that Hollywood is one sort of totemic idea, that it is one sort of, that a woman who works in entertainment must then like pledge allegiance to this idea of sort of totemic Hollywood and not come out and give her story. Like you're saying that she's like somehow complicit in all of it.
The degree to which we're all complicit in what's going on is unspecified.
Okay, can we stop real quick? So again, I'm not going to harp on this, but like, Jesus Christ, it is so fucking hard to get him to commit to any normative position. So when I say normative position, I'm talking about...
That's because that's difficult? Like, to make a prescription as to how we should act based on what we're doing or the results. Don't you think that that's something difficult to make?
That's what... He's a public speaker. It's part of his responsibility. That's his whole point. Yeah.
But it's a difficult topic.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean... But he's engaging in it, whether he thinks he is or not, because a ton of people will take what Peterson is saying and go online into forums and say, this is why women shouldn't work in the workplace. So it's happening whether he wants...
like, say that we're all complicit, right? Like, he's not blaming women.
Well, complicit to varying levels. Like, what is he saying? Yeah, but, like,
he's saying that he doesn't know. Isn't that something someone can say?
No, if I come out and no, not in his position. You have to make prescriptions because that's what people are looking to. If I were to come out and
the whole argument been like the last 15 years that the public conversation doesn't allow for people to admit when they don't know something, and that's a problem.
No, there's a difference between saying that versus here's 50 million facts that a reasonable person will take to lead them to the road of thinking that women shouldn't work in the workplace. Versus saying like
he believes that there's 50. Giving you reasons he said that women in the workplace is good.
Not really. And this whole video is him saying he doesn't know if it can ever work, and that women it sounds like women probably shouldn't. I didn't want to get too hung up on this point, but like I'm at 314. Yeah. Where are you at?
317.
Okay, hold on one second.
We don't know how to have an adult conversation about sex.
Okay, I'm at 317. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
It's not surprising. It's not the least bit surprising. So,
I guess I don't like. So then, what is it then? Like, because this seems to be like the sort of collectivist thinking that you rail against. You know, you're saying that Hollywood is one thing, and that Hollywood made its own bed, and therefore Hollywood should not speak about this issue because they're the ones that were pushing this agenda.
No, it isn't that they shouldn't speak about it,
or that they
should
do
speak
not
carefully
have the moral
about it.
Authority to.
They should speak carefully about it.
Do you feel like they're not speaking carefully?
Absolutely, they're not speaking carefully. Not in the least.
What is out of control about it?
Well, trial by public opinion, I suppose, is part of what's out of control about it.
Sure. Why can't he say anything? Why aren't they speaking appropriately about it?
No, because like you see how like they're talking right now.
Yeah.
Like this is fundamentally a conversation on the Me Too movement. Fundamentally.
Okay.
Don't you see that? Like it's not about women being allowed to work. It's about sexual harassment relationships at work. Like
Okay, we're not going to agree on this. Let's just keep going.
Women should be allowed in the workplace.
It's because what I'm going to say is that if somebody is saying that it's impossible for women and men to work at the workplace without sexual harassment occurring, then I would say that means that that person thinks that they shouldn't work together. That's what I would say. So, but okay, I'm at 4 minutes. Where are you at?
Yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Public opinion? Do you think that's what's happening?
Yeah, to some degree, sure. It's very easy for people to come forward with accusations and demolish someone's reputation. That's trial by public opinion.
So, I mean,
and we don't have any conversation about the other side of the coin. You don't think women manipulate men sexually for advancement in the workplace?
Do you not think that there has been any sort of pushback against this Me Too movement at all?
Yeah, there's been some.
Okay, so then what do you mean we don't have conversations about the other side? It seems like every time I read any sort of publication, it's split more or less 50-50 and actually increasingly more towards like maybe this thing is out of control. It seems like that narrative is certainly out there.
Yeah, true. It has started to emerge in the last couple of weeks. That's true. Yeah.
So then...
I don't understand. I guess I don't understand the question exactly.
Well, my question is essentially that like when you...
Is there sexual harassment in the workplace? Yes. Should it stop? That'd be good if it did. That'd be good. Will it? Well, not at the moment it won't because we don't know what the rules are.
Do you think men and women can work in the workplace together?
I don't know.
Without sexual harassment?
We'll see.
We'll see. How many years will it take for men and women working in the workplace together?
More than 40.
To get a sense. More than 40?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you something?
We're new at this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hold on. I'm paused at 5:18. What's up?
What would he have to say, or how would he have to speak differently for you not to think he doesn't want women in the workplace?
I think that men and women can work together in the workplace if we aim to these ends. That if we make these changes socially, or if we encourage these behaviors, or if we adopt this set of rules, or if we adopt these changes, that this can be something that can happen.
Right, and I mean, don't you think when he says something like women shouldn't be allowed to wear makeup in the workplace, that's a kind of proposition of the kind that you were talking about? Of like, this is what we would have to do to stop sexual harassment.
Just because you present a solution to a problem doesn't mean that I have to agree with that solution, and that can mean
I'm not saying you have
problems.
To agree with the solution.
No. So like, here's something that I because you've done this a few times. If I say that HIV is a big problem, and you go, okay, well, I don't know if we could ever help gay people from getting HIV, and it's like, okay, well, we need to do something about it. It's like, okay, well, maybe we should chop all their dicks off. And I'm like, okay, whoa, hold on. And you're like, well, wait, I just gave you a solution to the problem. Can't you say that I'm trying to help find a solution to AIDS in the gay community? No. So
so you're saying that it's unreasonably outrageous on purpose?
Yeah, that his well, not necessarily outrageous, but it's indicative of underlying philosophical disagreements that would have to be resolved. So his idea of like one way to resolve these workplace harassment things is that women shouldn't wear makeup is indicative of even more underlying bad thought problems or thought processes that need to be dispelled.
But if you were to be even more charitable, which I know I'm stretching, but couldn't you say that a scientist would propose something like that if they were fundamentally trying to improve relationships with people?
Not necessarily. When science aims to do something, we use science as so science is a human constructed thing that we use to achieve certain outcomes. So for instance, so here's something, right? Right now, we possess the technology to eliminate all cancer in the whole world. We can actually cure every single form of cancer right now. It is incredibly fucking easy to do. No, it's actually real. All you would have to do is place a human in an incinerator and turn it on, and you would kill the cancer every time, guaranteed. We have 100% full. Now, why don't we do this as scientists? Well, science doesn't make those types of investigations because we value human life, so those types of solutions aren't things that we care about, right? So when you say, wouldn't a scientist try to find a way to do a particular thing? Well, scientists play moral games and make value statements the same way that normal people do. A scientist would say, well, I am going to arbitrarily value something. In this case, it's going to be human life, human well-being, while also trying to solve the problem of cancer. So no, a scientist wouldn't just pose any solution. So if you say, I value... So if I say, I value women's existence in society and their ability to make free choices, now I'm going to propose solutions. If your solution is a woman isn't allowed to wear makeup without getting sexually harassed, well, no, that's not like a thing a scientist would do if they valued the same things that I valued.
It's not without getting sexually harassed. It's saying like you shouldn't introduce that element of humanity into the workplace. I think that's more the point he's getting at.
Sure, which again is something I totally disagree with.
Yeah, it's fine. I disagree with it too. But can't you say that that's someone in search of a solution? to the problems men and women are having in the workplace. Like, he's not against women in the workplace.
I mean, his solution is on the woman's side to change like a pretty innocent basic behavior instead of on the man's side to stop sexually harassing women. I think it's more reasonable
to suggest that men shouldn't sexually harass women. It's like saying, well, I don't know, black people just shouldn't commit crime. It's not a reasonable answer. It's much less actionable.
Sure, but if we want to get black people to commit less crime, the goal isn't to put guns in every single street corner. The goal would be, well, how do we get black people to not commit crimes? Well, education is a good way to do it. Improving socioeconomic status is a good way to do it. Basically, what we're trying to do are create the conditions necessary for people to elect to commit crimes less, right? And I would make the same argument for men here. So some sort of, more points of view in media, different types of workplace training, different attitudes being prevalent in society and pushed by major figures. So these are all ways to get men to be in an environment where they're less likely to want to commit sexual harassment.
Wait, could you repeat that? Sorry.
So when you compare it to black men, right, our goal to commit, we'll say black men here, but it can be any person that commits crime. Our goal to make people stop committing crimes, right, is to create better environments that make it so that they're empowered to make choices that aren't committing crimes. And I would say the same for men. We want to create better environments that empower men to not make these decisions to disrespect or sexually harass women.
Right. And you would say that even though, or even if, no makeup created that environment, it's still an untenable solution, right?
I don't think that because no makeup is something that would go against my baser value statements as a liberal.
Yeah, but here's what I would say, right? Is that in terms of the workplace, we require people to sacrifice a lot of what they would rather do in order to function in the workplace, right? I mean, it ends up at this point in time being a lot more unfair on women, but the rules are fundamentally the same. Like, if you say all women had to, for example, if you said all women had to dress the way men have dressed, I mean, I guess that's already kind of sexist, but to fit that same standard, like, the fact that it fundamentally affects women more is unfortunate, and it's something we should seek to deal with. But fundamentally, right, it's in line with what it is you're trying to achieve in the workplace.
No, it's not. But again, remember, we can achieve the result of no cancer by incinerating bodies, much the same way that we could achieve the result of no sexual harassment by making women wear burqas. I don't think that the idea that women need to not wear any makeup is a good prescription for how they should avoid harassment, because it seems like we're missing a deeper problem there that should be addressed instead.
And I definitely agree with you.
Because like it feels like we could walk back so much. Because like first we could say no makeup, and then what? Should you not be allowed to curl your hair? Maybe you should only wear straight hair. Maybe it should always be in a ponytail. And then what? Like, should you not be allowed to wear work dresses anymore? Should you not be allowed to wear low-cut socks?
Maybe we should watch a bit more. I think it kind of gets into that
sure.
kind of thing that you just.
So I'm at 518 right now. What are you at right now?
518.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
We're completely new at it. It's only been a couple of generations. That's part of the problem, right? Is that we don't know what the rules are. Like, what? Here's a rule. How about no makeup in the workplace?
Why would that be a rule?
Why should you wear makeup in the workplace? Isn't that sexually provocative?
No.
It's not?
No.
Well, what is it then? What's the purpose of makeup?
Some people would like to just put on makeup.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why do you make your lips red? Because they turn red during sexual arousal. That's why. Why do you put rouge on your cheeks? Same reason.
So your argument...
I'm not saying that you shouldn't wear makeup.
No, I'm not saying that. But you're saying that
I'm saying we don't know what the rules are.
Makeup in the workplace, that they have sexualized themselves in a way...
That's what makeup's for. That's self-evident. Why else would you wear it?
Can we pause? So, why do women wear makeup when they're either around the house or when they just go out with friends with no intentions of picking up a guy? So, like, here's something, right?
Because we're not talking about, like, conscious actions, right? These are things you pick up socially and you do them. But if you investigate why they came about in the first place, you can't differentiate it from sexual attraction.
So let's say my girlfriend is going out, okay, with a bunch of friends, okay, and she puts on makeup and I'm not there. Should I assume that she's like looking for somebody to fuck? Is that like the subconscious drive or?
No, but I mean, how can you say that makeup isn't fundamentally sexual? It's not. It's biological. It's not like.
Because
you know,
so what I'm
someone
going to
is
say,
deciding it.
because
You know,
what I'm going to
I've
say
heard you
is
talk
that
about this before.
what I'm going to say is that this is a vacuous claim. When I say vacuous, what I mean is that if you say that this thing is sexual, you have taken the word sexual and made it so vague that everything becomes sexual. And when everything is sexual, nothing is sexual. Facial features, I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've been in a psych or bio class. I don't think facial features are considered secondary sexual characteristics. All right, I'm pretty sure that this is like related to stuff like body hair or breasts or like ass. Like these would be considered sexual characteristics. I don't think that just if you're gonna make it so that like literally like painting your lips a certain color is like inviting or making you more sexual. I don't see how you couldn't say the same thing for literally everything a man does, like hair transplant surgery or combing your hair a certain way to make you look more youthful, shaving yourself in order to give yourself the appearance of smoother skin, straighten your teeth in order to make yourself look more symmetrical, which makes you more viable candidate for reproduction. Like every single thing is going to be sexual at that point then, if that's how you want to analyze it.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, currently, right? Like, I agree with that. And you could say, because women are new in the workplace, where we draw those lines are things we have to organize. Like, it's basically going to be by trial of public opinion. Like, should they be allowed to wear makeup? I think they should, right? Like, that doesn't feel to me like where the line needs to be drawn. But we don't have any other answers about where that line should be. We kind of have just vague notions, like, I think that's okay, or I don't know about that. But if we're going to try and, like, if we're going to set rules, we need to do better than that.
Okay, and I just think that no makeup is not a good rule to set, but...
And can't you see he was just throwing that out? Do you think he actually believes that women shouldn't wear makeup?
Okay, but why would you just throw out an argument you're not ready to defend in an interview where you know you're going to be talking about this?
That's the essence of discussion.
No, it's not. No, the essence of discussion is on, I'm preparing to go on in an interview, and somebody's like, well, do you really think that we should teach history like we do in the books? And then you're like, well, you know, I don't know, maybe the Holocaust didn't happen. And then somebody's like, what? And you're like, oh, well, I don't necessarily know that. That's just what I chose to talk about here. Like, okay. I mean, like, it's like, how can you just throw out examples?
No, I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure if you press him on it, and I think he...
And also, no, he specifically expressed, not only did he give a statement of something that shouldn't be done, he defended it with an explanation. He said when women...
Yeah, but he also said, I'm not saying that women shouldn't wear makeup. What he's doing, I think it's...
Okay, yeah, he's doing the Peterson trick. Where he's... No.
Wait. What's that thing where it's like, your argument can be consistent, but not valid? It
can be valid, but not sound. The conclusion can logically follow, but the premises aren't justified. But I don't agree that's what he's doing here. He's doing the Peterson thing where he's avoiding the normative claim of saying women shouldn't wear makeup, and then he's making the descriptive claim that if you wear makeup and get sexually harassed, you can't complain about it. This is what I complained to you at the very fucking start, that Peterson does this. He won't make the normative claim, and he'll duck out of them constantly, but he'll make descriptive that naturally lead to that normative that 99% of people would get to, but he won't make it himself.
But okay, let me ask you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If all of his descriptive claims are correct and you hear them, aren't you going to be able to say something like, well, okay, there's probably going to be ways to fix that though, right? Like, you can come up with solutions to deal with those problems.
Kind of, but descriptive claims...
for example, like if you were to put that forward yourself, you wouldn't necessarily be saying that we shouldn't do it.
Sure, but my descriptive claims would sound a lot different because you can sort of beg the question within your descriptive claims depending upon how you do it. I mean, like, and that's my problem.
So you're saying he should like make more of an effort, or if he's not a sexist,
yeah, when you make certain descriptive claims, you should understand how they're going to come off as. Yeah, that there are ways that you can phrase things where you're almost sneaking in the conclusion with.
Dude, have you heard the way he talks?
Yes.
He doesn't talk like a normal person.
Okay, wait. Remember earlier?
Like,
wait. Do you remember earlier that I asked you specifically this question? If Jordan Peterson is a horribly ineloquent speaker, if he's not capable of communicating, if he's one of the worst speakers of all time, if you say yes to that, then I'll agree with you. Remember how I specifically said that earlier?
He's much more careful and objective than most people
But no, he's doing the opposite. He's not...
I would say that you talk kind of like him in that way.
No. He is not careful. He's the opposite of careful. He talks like a weasel.
Isn't that kind of careful?
No!
I mean, I don't think
it's not in a social... Okay, then why does Peterson have so many right-wing fans that all fucking hate women? Why does Peterson have so many fans that have insane...
Those are the people that propped him into fame.
Why?
They people that latched... Because that was the conversation in which he raised up, right?
And he doesn't bear any responsibility for that?
I mean, he didn't create that situation.
It's not his responsibility to understand how his message is interpreted socially?
Oh, no, it is. And I would argue that he would do it better if he wasn't like
a horrible speaker. This is what I said. No.
He's not a horrible speaker.
You're mistaking analytical. No. You're mistaking analytical or something for just no idea of social convention. And I hate it. This is like a really classic like STEM point. This is like a Dave Rubin talking point. It's like, well, the intentionality and the 100% meaning of what I'm saying is absolutely the only thing that matters. But that's not true. If you ask any intelligent person, they will tell you that everything you say exists within the context of a social system, of society. As Jordan Peterson likes to say, we live in a society. Every single thing you say is going to be interpreted through the lens of that society. You have to be aware of this. You can't weasel out of questions should men and women work together and expect that not to be interpreted in a negative way.
Is that I think he's assuming that most people aren't going to think he's a sexist. I think that's why he's talking the way he's talking.
No way. How? Does he have autism? I don't mean that in an insulting way.
I mean, I don't know. But for the most part, the whole milieu of the situation that he's in is the groups of people that are complaining that they're being unfairly characterized as racist and sexist because of random trigger words that they say. Like, that's the whole nature of this whole anti-SJW thing.
I'm not sure I follow, but we can keep going. I'm at 609. Where are you at?
612.
Okay, hold on one second.
When women put on makeup in the workplace.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
When they make their lips red, when they sort of put on rouge, right? That when they enter that workplace, if a man notices that there is sort of a complicitness with which the woman has said, I am going to sexualize myself in the workplace, and therefore whatever comes will come.
No, I didn't say the last part of that. So I didn't say whatever comes will come. But I think the issue of complicitness, how about high heels?
I mean, look.
How about high heels? What are they for?
What about high heels?
What about them? They're there to exaggerate sexual attractiveness. That's what high heels do. They tilt your pelvis forward so your hips stick out. That's what they do. And they tighten up your calf muscles. They're a sexual display. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't use sexual displays in the workplace. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that that is what they're doing.
How much more careful can you be?
So what is the relevance then to like sexual harassment in the workplace then if you can't make...
Well, the Maoists put everybody in uniforms to stop that sort of thing from happening. Men wear uniforms. That's the way they wear suits.
I guess I'm not seeing the sort of coherence of the thought that you're putting together then, because...
What are the rules that govern sexual interactions between men and women in the workplace?
Yes.
The answer is, we don't know. Right. So I'm throwing out some questions. How about makeup? Oh, that's okay. Is it? Why? Why is it okay?
Well, I would think that there's certain ownership over one's body that they can take without...
How about negligees?
Well, look, if you
That's going too far.
If you had a workplace with negligees, I think that there would be some sort of standard idea that maybe that would be a sexualized...
Okay, so there's some line between lipstick and negligees that we don't want to cross. Okay, fair enough. Where exactly is the line?
Well, I think that, you know...
Can we pause?
Sure. So what he just engaged in right here, I'm not trying to be the internet debater, but what he just engaged in here is a continuum fallacy. So have you ever heard of Loki's wager?
Yeah, this is one of the things I actually agree with you.
Sure. So like if I were to ask
you had that.
You agree that heads exist and necks exist, right? Do you agree that there is a head and there is a neck?
I think that's a linguistic thing. I think that's for utility. I think that's...
Wait, hold on. Do you agree that there are heads and that there are necks? That these exist as two distinct things that we can refer to?
No, I don't think that you can say that they're distinct. And I know you think I'm being dishonest, right? But remember that I saw this argument you had with someone about should you be allowed to kill someone that tries to rob you, comes to rob your house, and you were talking about the exact same thing, right? Like
no, I don't think this is going to relate. I don't think this is going to relate. This is going to be way different. Okay, so I'm sorry, just to explain to the audience what Loki's wager is, okay? Loki gets into a bet with some dwarves or some shit, I don't even fucking know, and he loses, and what he bet was his, I think he bet his head. So the dwarves or whatever go to behead him. I don't know, I'm probably not telling this exactly right, but the dwarves go to behead him, and Loki reminds them, I wagered only my head. if you take even a millimeter of my neck, then the gods will smite you or whatever. That would be betraying our bet. And so the dwarves sit there and they try to measure out, well, fuck, where does his head end and his neck begin? We have no idea. And since they can't establish that exact point, Loki is able to walk free because he's fooled them. This is Loki's wager. Right. So this is an illustration of a continuum fallacy where people say,
how is that a fallacy?
Well, it's a fallacy because what you're saying is because the line might be blurred in some gray area in the middle, that two distinct things don't necessarily exist at all.
Okay,
that you can't draw different. What?
Let me say, you can say that they're
real quick. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Peterson has said because there is some line between negligees, which are clearly hold on, a negligee, that's like a woman's like nightgown outfit, right? A negligee. Am I crazy? Hold on, I don't even know how to fucking spell this shit. Negligee, a woman's light dressing gown, typically made of filmy, soft fabric. This is like okay. That because he's saying that because there's a line between negligees and makeup, because that line exists, that like we can't possibly talk about the differences between these two things. That's what he's like implying here.
No, he's saying we should find it.
Okay. I'm at 7:59. Are you at 8:02? What are you at?
I'm at 7:59. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Justice Scalia said with pornography, it's something that you can feel, or that you know it when you see it. I would say that maybe that sort of, but what's confusing to me and I really do just mean this in sort of a debate sense, which is that like these sorts of big collective ideas, they're things that you feel like are sort of derived through evolution, that people do come to a consensus that is meaningful. I don't think that anyone would say that wearing makeup to the office is in some ways like sexually deviant or something like that, or that it's inviting a sort of atmosphere of sexuality within the workplace.
I would say that. The second part, sure. It's exactly what it's doing. Okay, why else would you wear lipstick?
Complete the thought for me then, because that's the part that I'd like for you to do. Like, complete the thought. A woman...
I'm not saying that women shouldn't do it. And I'm also not saying that it should be banned. But I'm saying that you're absolutely naive if you don't think that that has anything to do with sexuality.
Or sexual harassment? Does it have something to do with sexual harassment in the workplace?
I don't know. Because I don't know what the rules should be that govern the interactions between men and women in the workplace.
I don't believe
Should people be allowed to flirt in the workplace?
Do you feel that, let's just, yes or no question, do you feel like women wearing makeup in the workplace contributes to sexual harassment in the workplace?
Sure, it contributes.
And so what should be done about that? You as a clinician who believes that there should be prescriptive ideas that don't mandate behavior, but that will guide behavior.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Do you feel like women shouldn't wear, do you feel like a serious woman who does not want sexual harassment in the workplace, do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that.
Okay, let's move on.
I don't see how you could not think that. It's like makeup is a sexual display. That's what it's for. You say, well, I want to look more attractive. It's like, what do you mean by attractive exactly?
So then what is a better outcome for you then? A workplace with no sexual harassment, where women wear uniforms and don't wear makeup, much like the Maoists, like you were saying, or a sort of freer workplace in which sexual harassment is an inevitability because women wear high heels and makeup?
Well, I don't say that sexual harassment is an inevitability because women wear high heels and makeup. I didn't say that.
Or that it is more likely.
I said that it contributes to the sexualization of the workplace.
What's the difference between more likely and that?
No, pause it.
Okay, more likely, I'll go.
Okay, yeah.
Don't you think that that's someone trying to nail down a truth? He's trying to be specific.
Yes, he's trying to nail him down because everybody, this is one of the things, I made this mistake and I'm a little embarrassed that I did it. I watched that Channel 4 interview with that one lady and Jordan Peterson. I felt like Jordan Peterson mopped the floor with her. And it's because I didn't pay close enough attention to the types of tactics that Peterson uses. Ironically, because I spent as much time exploring philosophy, so I didn't have the vocabulary to express the tactics that he uses. And this is the game that Peterson constantly plays, where he will never, ever make these normative claims. What ought we do in society? What ought we to do in society? He will never make these claims. But goddamn, will he lay on the descriptive claims so that he is a cunt hair's width away from making this claim. But he will never actually cross the threshold and do it. And then when you try to, and then this is why everybody always says that, oh, people are so unfair to Peterson. He didn't actually say that. He didn't actually say that. He didn't actually say that. Well, no. He doesn't fucking say anything. He never makes a claim ever. So you can like never.
He's explicitly. I know in the past he's explicitly come out against pornography. He said that men shouldn't watch porn. Right? Like if he wanted to make sort of abrasive claims, like he's willing to make them. Being against porn, that's not exactly a claim that anti-SJW 20-year-olds are going to support. Well, I guess it depends. There's some sort of around that area, but I think that he can make claims of his own personal beliefs, but he's not trying to talk about what he believes. He's trying to talk about the issues that he sees in these situations.
Okay, but he's got an army of extreme conservatives behind him, where he's making like anti-climate change statements and everything. I mean, like it becomes anti-trans statements. Like it becomes hard for me to like take him seriously. I don't know. Like it seems like
I think a lot of the things that you're calling anti, I don't know. You're putting too much of a moral judgment on what he's saying.
Because he's a public figure, and you've got responsibility for your statements, and all of his statements are logically leading here.
Yeah, but by looking at them through that frame, you're distorting what he's saying.
I don't care what he's actually saying. What I care about are the impacts of what he's saying on society. Much the same way that if I were
then you can't claim that he's a sexist. You can say that like his viewpoints might allow for sexist beliefs, which I guess I can agree with.
Yeah, remember I specifically said this earlier. I specifically said earlier that Jordan Peterson might not necessarily be a sexist, but that all of his viewpoint.
Really believe that?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think he necessarily is. That's a really hard thing to inductively state. But what I do know is that a lot of his viewpoints will lead to sexism. Remember, this was a conversation we had earlier, right?
Yeah, but like if you're going to talk about a topic like that, right? It's going to be you're not going to be able to move forward very far if you have that giant thing, or if you should say that should be assumed that he's not a sexist. You should be able to assume that, because we all don't want, most reasonable people don't want to force women out of the workplace. They don't want to force women to do things they don't want to do. Like, shouldn't that be something at a reasonable point we can expect?
Yeah, but again, the intentionality doesn't matter if your end position.
No, but I'm saying that that's the situation that we're in, or at least I think that's how he's operating. In that we have a goal, which is to reduce friction in the workplace, right? Like fundamentally, even just by saying that that's the goal, he's saying that. Well, I guess you could say just get rid of all women, but I think he's not saying that we should get rid of all women. I think he's saying there's some uncomfortable problems we have to deal with. Okay. Like uncomfortable.
Okay, sure. We can keep going. I'm at 10:27. What are you at?
24.
Okay. Let me know when you're at 10:27.
Yeah. I'm ready. You want me to count down or?
Hold on one second. Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Go with that.
Yeah, more likely, right?
Sure, okay.
Okay, so which one do you prefer?
I don't prefer either of them. Oh, which one of those two would I prefer?
Yeah.
Oh, I prefer the one where people had the freedom.
And so within that, so we've gotten to that point that people should have freedom to work.
Mm-hmm. Wait. Oh, I paused. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just said something. Sorry. Wait, what time are you at?
Oh, 10:47.
Okay,
makeup, right? But that will inevitably lead to, not inevitably, that it is more likely that sexual
Okay, I'm at 10:47, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Harassment happens in the workplace. Isn't that sort of saying that if women wear, like, how is that not saying that if women wear makeup in the
That isn't what I said. Like, you're pushing it past what I said by a substantial margin. Sure, I said that we don't understand the rules that govern the interactions between men and women in the workplace, right? We don't understand the rules. And so I was pushing a limit case. That's what I was doing. I wasn't saying women shouldn't wear makeup.
No, I was saying we could have a question
about, there should be a question raised about that. And there is often. I mean, companies have dress codes, let's say, and they have a reason for that. But the fact that we got tangled up in this conversation is an indication of exactly how difficult it is to have a reasonable reasonable conversation about exactly what rules should govern the interactions between men and women in the workplace.
I would object to that a little bit, because I think the reason why this conversation has been difficult is because, like, there are certain things where you'll just punt and you'll say, I'm not saying that, and you'll try and be very hyper-specific. And now, look, there are examples of that where I feel like you were right. Like, I feel like the Kathy Newman article, or the Kathy Newman interview, I felt like a lot of that she put words in your mouth. I don't feel like I'm doing that. In fact, I've been extremely careful not to.
I'm definitely not accusing you of that.
Okay, so
I'm just saying that these sorts of conversations are difficult, not that you're making it unduly difficult, because I don't think you are.
Sure. So I guess, look, this is a test case, right? Like, we are not here to say, like, Jordan Peterson believes that this is true. We are talking about a specific test case. Like, we agree, or not we agree,
Yep.
You are arguing. They enter a workplace, the workplace has a higher preponderance of becoming sexualized. Right?
Yes.
How do we not then take the next step and say that, ergo, if we want to get rid of sexual harassment in the workplace, that your belief is that women should not wear high heels or makeup in the workplace?
Oh, because there's other potential solutions. People could, you could allow for a certain amount of sexual tension and not act on it in a reprehensible manner. I mean, look, let's say you're married to someone, right? You go
I am
to a
married,
party.
yep.
Okay, you go to a party. Do you ever flirt?
Wait,
I don't go to parties.
Yeah.
Listening, having heard what you've been hearing so far in this conversation, you kind of still think he's doing...
No, he's getting a little bit okay here. I'm at 1309. Where are you at?
I think I'm at 1305.
Okay, let me get to 13. Or here, I'll go back. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Party. Do you ever flirt?
I don't go to parties.
Oh, okay. Do you ever flirt at all?
No, honestly not.
But do you know how?
But that is, no, not really.
Okay, well,
I'm a terrible
so that's not so
example.
good.
Yeah.
Well, look, one of the things that's enjoyable about the interactions between men and women, even if you're married, is an element of flirtatiousness that can underscore the interaction. Okay, you don't want to get rid of that. It's too tyrannical to get rid of that. But you're playing with fire. You have to know that you're playing with fire. And so there's going to be some sexual provocativeness in the workplace, let's say, both ways. But you're playing with fire. And you need to know what the rules are. We don't know what the rules are.
Okay, how about, what if I said it is okay to flirt with your coworker from time to time, but, don't grab them in the privates?
Well, that seems, I think we could agree that might be a reasonable start, right? But then, of course, you still have the problem of exactly what constitutes acceptable flirting.
Do you feel like the majority of people then who are sort of in this Me Too movement right now, who have been speaking out,
Yeah.
I mean, do you really think all of them are saying that you can't flirt at all? Or do you think most of them are saying, you just don't grab me in the privates? Because I just, as somebody who also has read about this, who's studied it quite a bit, who has followed it very intensely, it really does seem like the message is like, hey, don't pull your robe off, don't grab me in the boobs.
No, I think it's worse than that.
You do?
Yeah, well, look at what happened with NBC. Now you're supposed to report your coworkers if you suspect them of romantic entanglements.
That's been true about American, that is one symptom.
But this is a policy now.
It is.
It's a
policy at one company about sort of this industry-wide about this industry-wide problem.
Yeah, it's a response to it, but it's a bad response. You said, is it?
I mean, real quick, I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of corporate environments where you're not allowed to date coworkers for a variety of reasons. Not even necessarily directly vertical, but horizontally, you're not supposed to date coworkers. I don't think only.
And I agree with you on most of the people should conduct themselves at work.
Do what?
I think I agree with most of the stuff you said earlier about you shouldn't try and engage or you shouldn't move towards a woman that way at work. You should do that outside of work. I think that's fair.
Sure.
I don't necessarily agree with this whole NBC thing.
Okay. I'm at 1454. Where are you at?
56. Let me go back.
Only about.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Not being grabbed. It's no, it's not only about that.
If it was only about not being grabbed, would you be okay with it?
Well, I'm not in favor of people being involuntarily grabbed. I'm not in favor of sexual harassment or sexual assault, and not in the least. I already told you what I think. I'm a sexual conservative.
Sure.
I don't think people should have sex on the first date. I think they should be very careful with sex, right? So I'm not in the camp of let's grab each other under the mistletoe at the Christmas party because what the hell? I'm not in that camp. I'm in the be bloody careful camp, and don't step out of line, and don't have designs on your secretary when you hire her. I think that's all appalling. But I don't think we're capable of having an adult conversation about it. Not as a culture, not even a bit.
Let's say that the result of all of this, of the Me Too movement, is that perhaps there are some policies which might strike a sort of civil libertarian such as yourself, or somebody who believes in individual freedom as a bit oppressive, but that women stop getting grabbed in the privates.
I don't think that's what will happen.
This is the collateral damage from that.
Yeah, no,
is that not a win? Is that not a win for somebody who doesn't think that women should be grabbed in the privates?
I don't think that's
what you pause?
I kind of hate when he does the thing where he doesn't answer hypothetically.
Yeah.
But I think that...
I'm at 1608. What are you at?
1607.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
What'll happen?
Why?
Because I don't think that the ideas that are being put forth have the kind of power that will transform people's behavior in a reasonable manner.
Okay, that's very vague. Can you just
talk
about...
No, it's
not. It is. You've essentially said, well, I don't believe that the ideas are going to work.
They're not concrete enough.
They're not concrete enough? Yeah. I mean, I think that almost every big media organization has specifically rewritten their policies in the past few months with very concrete examples of things that are not okay. I mean, like, do you not think that those are concrete enough?
Well, maybe. It's possible. I don't know the policies well enough to be certain.
Okay, wait. So, like, we did it again, right? We don't know what the rules are. Like, people don't have specific rules. It's not good. And then, well, maybe they are good. I just don't know. Like...
Yeah, because he doesn't know the policies.
I mean, why would you say that they aren't good enough?
I think he's talking about the broad conversation. This guy brings up specific policies that he hasn't seen, right? Like, they might be good enough.
Okay. All right, I'm at 1642. What are you at?
42.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
My sense generally is that, like, what would you say it? Outraged mob activism generally doesn't translate very well into intelligent policy. But, it's possible that
it does lead to change.
We'll see.
All right. Yeah, it's finished. Do you think I'm an idiot after watching that video, do you think I've, like, fallen into some kind of, like, neo-Nazi trap? Or does it make more sense?
I think that it's possible to give him, if you are ultra charitable, you can give him some reading. But I think that if you were to watch that, and maybe, what if you even had, this is insane, but what if you actually had an educational background in the study of the human mind? Let's call it psychology. That maybe it's possible to watch that and understand, hey, I totally see how a ton of misogynistic people could read what he's saying in this video. Don't you think that's a fair summary as well?
Yeah, I see it, but I'm saying that's wrong about that.
So,
like, that's
my problem. Okay, so a long time ago, I used to call people fat. I don't know how I can say the word. I used to use the F slur word a lot. Okay, a lot. Okay, and I had a moment where I listened to somebody speak, and when I heard them speak, what I realized was, oh, this guy actually hates gay people. And what I realized was, I love racial humor, but I'm not comfortable making racial jokes around people that I think are actually racist, or homophobic jokes on people that I think are actually, homophobic. I'm not comfortable doing that because because things are funny to me for reasons related to subversion or shock value, but not because, like, LOL gay people or LOL black people, right? So, like, certain types of racist jokes are funny to me. LOL Indian shit in the street, that's not really funny to me, right? Or there's a monkey on the screen spam try hard, that's not really funny for me. So what I realize is that if I have an audience of some thousand people or whatever that are listening to me at any given point in time, and I use certain types of language, what I can do, regardless of my intentionality, is I can have people that take what I say and interpret it their own way, in a way that makes it feel like their hatred for gay people is reinforced because of what I say. I don't ever intend that. I'm not homophobic. I've never been homophobic, at least for the last decade. Maybe when I was a kid, when I was more Christian, maybe. But over the last decade, since I've started streaming, absolutely not. Always pro-gay marriage, always pro-gay pride parades, whatever you want to do. I'm 100% for all of that. But there might be people that aren't, that use what I say as a way of empowering their kind of fucked up beliefs. And I think that as a public figure, I kind of have a responsibility to make sure that that doesn't happen. I don't want people to take what I say and interpret it that way, because at the end of the day, I'm going to have an impact on public discourse, however small it is, just being a Twitch streamer. So when somebody like Jordan Peterson can give an interview like this, I think that you can say, maybe at the very best, you can say, well, maybe he's not sexist, but he's done a great disservice to himself if he really believes that women deserve better treatment in society, because he's laid out the perfect framework for a total misogynistic person to justify their hatred of women in the workplace.
Okay, and I guess I would say that maybe he needs to be, I don't know, to make more of an effort to be explicit in those things.
Yeah.
I just feel like, for the most part, and I think definitely because for all the kinds of sources of election might not be true, but I think most people aren't going to see that and already be looking to find something to support their sexism. I think most people aren't sexist. Well,
yeah, but again, we have to remember the intentionality doesn't matter. For instance, do you think that most Muslims that support Sharia law in whatever capacity that means, do you think most of them are sexist?
No, I think it's probably just like like how everyone church.
Yeah, it's like you love women, and so you advocate for certain rules about women because you love them. You want them to wear the hijab to celebrate their femininity and to protect men against their sexual desires. You want them to be forced into certain roles because that's how a woman celebrates her life, because that's the most beautiful thing a woman can do. Muslims and Christians are very similar in those regards in terms of how they follow their religious tenets and where their prescriptions for women's roles in society come from. So whether or not people hate women isn't really what's at stake here. That's not really what we're questioning. What we're questioning is, are there social norms that can become pervasive on the backs of people that don't explicitly hate women, but somehow unintentionally support viewpoints that leave women feeling hated, right? The causal or the consequence versus the intentionality.
Yeah, but can't you see how, like, trying to walk a line between, not empowering these viewpoints versus actually trying to nail down, like, actionable factual claims, like, that's a very difficult line to walk.
It is difficult, and I would only expect a very intelligent person to be able to do it. Maybe somebody that has gone so far that they've gotten a PhD in psychology. Don't you think somebody like that might be able to do it?
Doing that.
But he's clearly not. He's clearly not. Because we haven't even gone into. Hold on. We haven't even gone into when we won't, because we don't have time for today. But the other number of troubling statements he's made in regards to climate change or in regards to transgender issues, right? Like, regardless, we were getting into that.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure any of those situations that you could talk about is going to be pretty similar to this. That, like, yeah, okay, it is unfortunate that those are the topics that have come up. But he talks about a lot of other things as well that aren't as controversial, right? Like, the majority of what he talks about is religion.
Sure,
right?
But people don't even care about that. What he's celebrated for is the fact that he's a reactionary. He's an anti-SJW.
I disagree with that.
Really? What do you think the biggest growth of his fan base came from? What do you think was the defining moment in his career?
I mean, I'm not a good judge of these things.
I am. It was the Bill C-16 thing. That's what it was.
Yeah, but, like, how many people like that have been around that have died out? All right, like, Gad Saad is barely around anymore.
Sure, but do you think there's going to be a super high crossover between people like Jordan Peterson and people that support Donald Trump?
Yeah, maybe.
But why? How could that be? If Jordan Peterson is a liberal and Trump is an authoritarian, why would there be a crossover between these two people? If Jordan Peterson really does love and respect women, and Trump talks about wanting to fuck his own daughter, and that he grabs women by the pussy and he doesn't care, how could there be crossover between these two people?
I think because most of the people that support Trump are very, I guess they're reactionary, and obviously they're reactionary. But it's more of a response to what they see as, like, left than, like, any actual.
Yeah, a response. So they're reactionaries, right? That's not a good thing. When I use reactionary, I mean that to be a very derogatory word. Sorry,
and I do think that's bad.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that Jordan Peterson has stuck around so much is because of, like, his book and the biblical lectures that he did, and most of the lectures he gives about, like, responsibility or whatever, or meaning, like, his maps of meaning. Like,
but I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, though, because if we go back, because something that we can do right now, okay, is we can look up Jordan Peterson YouTube, okay, Jordan Peterson YouTube. So I'm gonna click this channel. I could be wrong, but let's check. Okay, so Jordan Peterson. So I'm gonna go to Social Blade. I'm gonna plug in his channel ID. Okay, I'm gonna click his channel, and let's see the popularity of his channel. So this channel, I don't know how far back Social Blade tracks, but like in late 2015, 40,000 views a month. Okay, he's getting almost no views, 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, 40,000, almost unheard of. Okay, it wasn't until it looks like in late 2016 is when he really started to take off. So let's go to Wikipedia and look up Jordan Peterson, Bill C16. On September 27th, 2016, that's when he released the first installment of his 3-part lecture video series. So he was doing all of his self-help stuff. He's been doing that for a long time, but he didn't start to majorly take off in popularity. Go figure, it coincides perfectly with when he started his reactionary anti-SJW speech. And I would argue that that is by far what he's known more for today than any type of self-help stuff.
But if you look at his actual channel, right, like I agree, it was what propelled him to fame.
Sure,
but
let's
the
look at his
videos
actual
that are
channel.
Sure. Yeah, if you get the videos that are getting views on there, majority of them have very little to do with that. It's mostly like religious stuff. He's talking about Nietzsche. He's talking about like...
Sure, so if I look at the most popular videos on his channel, the first one is Biblical Series 1, Introduction to the Idea of God. Cool. The second most popular video is Identity, Politics, and the Marxist Lie of White Privilege.
Yeah, and then like look at the next two. Like the majority of them have nothing to do with
Modern Times, like, Camille Paglia, and Jordan B. Peterson. I don't know what this is
Which
about.
is the video where he said that it's difficult to have an argument with women because you can't hit them, which on the face of it sounds really bad.
Okay, so maybe that's not a good point then for you now.
No, but look, the majority of what he's talking about here is not... I mean, I don't even... Like, it's nothing to do with...
And also, these are just videos on his channel. Like, if I look at Jordan Peterson on the internet and I try to sort by what are the most popular, like, Jordan Peterson videos, like, do you think they're going to be videos on, like, what do you think they're generally...
But would you say... Yeah, I mean, majority of the popular ones of those are going to be that kind of stuff. But, like, your most popular video is, I think, the JonTron one. Like, most of the people that watch that wouldn't really be considered your fans.
Oh, I'm okay with that being one of my most popular videos. Sure. I think I advocate
I'm saying... I'm saying... Those people that watched that video, would you classify the majority of them as your followers, or just people that came in and saw it?
I think that if if all of my most popular videos were me promoting viewpoints that I didn't feel the most strongly about, I would feel bothered by that. Yeah. So like when I start Jordan Peterson to look at most popular, then I see like Jordan Peterson debate on gender pay gap. I see he did a PragerU video. Oh God, which is a whole thing.
No way. Wait, did he?
Yep. Dangerous people are teaching your kids. Jordan Peterson calmly dismantles
feminism. I would
feminism.
definitely say, okay, no, oh God, I just realized he definitely associates himself with a lot of people that he probably shouldn't.
Sure. Like how many? Yeah. So when he's on PragerU, do you think he's giving a lot?
No one else will talk to him.
Really? Do you really think no one else would?
Really?
You don't think like so you don't think somebody like ContraPoints or whatever, none of these people would host Jordan Peterson in a conversation? Because I always hear that conservatives will say things like, oh, you know, they won't have a debate with me. Crowder says this. But then when left-leaning people reach out to do it, I did it a lot with Dave Rubin. When Dave Rubin said that lefties never, or left-leaning people never want to talk to him, he never responded to anything from mine. Stefan Molyneux stiffed me the same way. Not to say that I'm like maybe a big enough figure for them to give a fuck about, but I have a decent size on the internet. That people like, and then people like the Chapo guys, or people like Steve.
Those, I'm not in support of the right? Like most of those people are like dumb, in my opinion. I'm saying that Jordan Peterson is not in that group.
But he associates.
That's the only place he can be there. That's the only place he can. I mean, I wouldn't call Joe Rogan one of those
but
people.
like, let's say that I was having trouble being platformed somewhere. I wouldn't go and join, like, you know, Nazis Are Us because they're the only people that would host me. I would just continue to do my work separately. I don't think I would, especially if I'm making $30,000 a month on Patreon. It's not like he needs the exposure that PragerU. You couldn't pay me enough to do a video on PragerU. You would have to get into like the 8-figure range for me to even consider it. Like even for $5 million, I would never do a fucking video for these people. Like, and Peterson is not hurting for the money.
And I definitely agree that it's misguided for him to join these people or to be on this side of the conversation.
Like, look at these guys, Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. Like,
well, I definitely think Ben Shapiro is a bit of a hard. I mean, he's not exactly the greatest, but he's not a bad person, which I guess it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
I'm just saying that he's not a sexist. I don't think he's a racist. He's not a negative, and for the most part, he's a positive influence on the people that watch him, or at least.
Well, unless they end up becoming very misogynistic as a result of that, or they become affiliated with other people that he affiliates himself with. So, for instance, if I were to start watching Jordan Peterson videos, I'm pretty sure very quickly I'm going to also wind up watching Stefan Molyneux videos as well, or Lauren Southern videos as well, or Charlie Kirk videos, or other PragerU videos. Like,
but don't you think that I don't know, because I don't think people are that smart, but the majority of the content that he actually delivers is not going to lead someone in that direction.
I think I disagree with that, but it would be really, I'm only making a feels argument there. It'd be hard for us for either of us. But I mean, like, if I go incognito mode, let's say I look up Jordan Peterson, feminist. I wonder how long it would take me. So a message to social justice warriors and feminists, Jordan Peterson. I wonder how long it would take me to get to like to like Stefan Molyneux or like so I've already got PragerU videos that pop up in the sidelines. Like, okay, cool. The myth of the gender wage pay gap.
You're the guy.
And look, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the way the left is conducting themselves currently is effective or isn't embarrassing?
Not necessarily. Like in 2 or 3 clicks, like I'm already on wrecked feminist videos and I'm getting links to like the conservative network. My next video up is going to be from James Alsup. This guy is a literal white nationalist. I've debated this guy before. James Alsup, he's a white nationalist. I got here in 2 clicks.
Yeah, but you have to watch the videos though. Like,
okay, but like I'm just saying that it's very easy. It's very easy to get from one to the next. It took me 2 clicks to get to a white nationalist from a Jordan Peterson video.
I don't think that you can really say. I mean, first of all, and I hate to make arguments, but you've got to look at the way that YouTube itself is working about something. He's not going to be tagged next to like a Vox video.
Well, exactly, because it tends to link like videos together. People that watch Jordan Peterson videos are more likely to watch videos of white nationalists. Like, that's what the YouTube algorithm is saying. And you want to talk about apolitical, YouTube is very apolitical. And whatever people say push a political narrative, it's bullshit. All YouTube wants at the end of the day is fucking money. And if they put you in front of 50 million white nationalist videos to do it, YouTube will fucking do it. Anybody that has any shred of like self-respect will admit that. So I mean, like,
so can I ask you a different question? Okay, I guess I might be willing to concede that he's probably not done enough to, I don't know, I think he makes an effort, but maybe he's not in touch enough to make it effectively. But what would you say is the reasonable expectation we can have for someone trying to communicate difficult topics to do it in a way that encompasses all the people that are going to hear it?
I mean, I try my best to do it. Hold on. Fuck.
He even does
I do. He even does an interview with Tara McCarthy. Like, she's an actual fucking white nationalist. What the he doesn't need to do this.
But he even came out and criticized her.
But why is he platforming? Hold on. Yeah, wait. How? She's not even a big YouTuber, is she? Hold on.
I don't think so.
She's 50,000 subs. Why the fuck is he giving her a platform? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. To back up, you talk like, do I think it's possible? So like, here's an example that I would give, okay? I have a lot of lefty fans now, okay? So fans that are actual socialists and communists. I myself, I am very much a liberal, okay? However, the difference between me and Peterson is that if you ask my lefty fans about my capitalism and my liberalism, they will fucking hate it, but they will acknowledge it. They will say, fucking Destiny. Yeah, he engages in a ton of fucking capitalist apologia. I hate that about him. He fucking still holds on to this delusion of fucking liberalism, and he doesn't see that he's actually going to end up supporting fascists at one point in time. Or he doesn't see how, you know, like his support of capitalism, regardless of how he feels, is always going to lead to these types of worker problems or consumerism or whatever, these things that he hates, and he's an idiot for that. So even though I have fans that disagree with me, they absolutely wreck it, because I see it in all of my fucking videos. Or I've got like a decent amount of vegan fans now that hate the fact that I'm still a meat eater. Like, people aren't disillusioned, or I shouldn't say that. People aren't delusional about my points of view. Now, if I were to go and poll Jordan Peterson fans, there are going to be a lot of Jordan Peterson fans that do think that Jordan Peterson shouldn't work in the workplace, that do think that Jordan Peterson actually, truly, secretly believes that that white nationalism is the way forward, that he does believe in these types of collective hierarchies. Like, I think there's a big...
In your opinion, right? Like, what's different about me? Why am I not coming?
Because you might be one of his more reasonable fans. But the problem is that fascists will always riot on the backs of people like you to deliver their message in such a way that eventually people will be recruited into. And at some point, your views, your personal views don't even matter because your position will become indistinguishable from what a fascist position is. Eventually, so for instance, like I might find somebody that hates Mexicans and this guy says, I want to keep every fucking Mexican out of my country. Get these people out of here. I don't want him here at all, period. Fuck them, okay? Now, I might be able to find a Republican that doesn't hate Mexicans, and he says, well, DACA is bad because these people don't respect rule of law, so we need to deport all of those children. Muslims are bad because they don't share our Western values, so we need to allow Christians but no Muslims into our country, and we need to build the wall because we need strong national defense, and there's no reason to let people into our country illegally, and we need to curb back on welfare because black people are where they are because their culture is poisoned. It's not because of anything we did to them. Like, at some point, this quote-unquote liberal, their positions become indistinguishable from the fascist. Like, so like,
but how are you not, like, isn't this just going to argue for just like basic just war? Like, there's no conversation you can have in this.
Well, no, there is
Especially
conversation, but the conversation has to be done in a more responsible way by more intelligent people. This has always been my chief criticism of centrists on the internet, is that they're fucking morons, is that they're liberals that let fascists jump onto their backs and they piggyback them around for their whole audience to see. So for instance, Jordan Peterson doing an interview with Tara McCarthy, who is, by the way, going to be an immigrant to the United States, who's going to marry her way in here, saying that we should establish rule of law in the United States to force black people to go back to Africa. Like, why would somebody like Jordan Peterson do that? Why would you platform a person like that?
How much do you think he would know about someone like that?
It's his responsibility to know. You have to know. Like, you're the guy that's doing it.
Saying, okay. I guess I just want to clarify because this might be what you're not necessarily saying that that's what he's doing. You're saying that that's what would result.
That's the effect of what he's doing, even if he's not intentionally doing it. Yeah.
So, like, would you say disagree with his views on women in the workplace? Like, that kind of stuff. Like, if you were going to have an argument with him, like, do you think he would argue, or do you think he would pretty much...
For what?
Like, if you were going to argue about, like, women's representation in the workplace, would you say your views would probably most likely be aligned? It's just a shame the way he expresses them?
In terms of descriptive views, I think I agree with almost every single thing Jordan Peterson says. When he... Oh, well, hold on. Let me be very careful. In the realm of psychology, because when he gets out of psychology, he says some real fucking stupid shit. But in the realm of psychology, most of the descriptive claims that Peterson makes, I'm already familiar with, and they're not very controversial. They're generally true. But that's not my problem, right? On Twitch.tv, we have a problem with booby streamers. Are you familiar with this? With e-girls. Have you ever heard of this before? Right? Yeah. Now, personally, I don't think that overtly sexual content belongs on Twitch. That's just my personal point of view. However, I'm not just going to make a tweet that says, I think we need to remove sexual content from Twitch because I know the type of people that will latch onto that. Well, I'm not going to make a tweet at all because I'm banned from Twitter. But like, I know that people would latch onto that statement and use it as a springboard for more extremist thought. So I know, because of the context that I exist in, because we live in a society, I know that anything I say, I have to understand the lens through which people will view it. So if I'm going to talk about content like that, or my prescriptive views like that, you better fucking believe I'm going to qualify that shit out the ass. And I always do when I talk about it.
But dude, like, didn't you see how many times he was trying to qualify all of his statements? Like,
no, there's a difference between qualifying them and weaseling out of everything. There's a huge difference there.
But he's not arguing for sexist views. He's not.
Okay, I mean, I guess our disagreement, based on the fact that he's done PragerU videos, based on the fact that he talks to avowed white nationalists, blatant white nationalists, I would argue that he's not doing his due diligence. I guess we can disagree with that, but it seems pretty easy to connect somebody to Jordan Peterson and then in a couple of weeks get them to watching, Nicholas Fuentes. Like, that seems like a pretty easy thing to do, that you can go from Peterson to Molyneux, like, very quickly.
But he's said so many anti-nationalist, a lot of these things are all
clearly not enough if he's still got all these extremist conservative fans, these authoritarian supporting fans that still support people like Trump. Like, it's pretty clear that he hasn't made these statements enough if that's the case.
I guess I just fundamentally disagree that most of his fans are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't prove that.
Sure. And this is not like this isn't like a necessarily the best way to do it. It's not really fair. But like, if I go to the Jordan Peterson subreddit, I wonder what like some of the most upvoted posts are going to be. Do you think they're going to be like all related to self-help stuff, or do you think they're all going to be related to like Do you think they're going to be related to like feminism, like anti-SJW stuff? It might be self-help stuff. If it is, that would be cool. I mean, I'll check. I could be wrong. I haven't actually done this before. So let's look at top posts for the past month.
I mean, if you look at his like Q&As, like he's hardly ever answering questions about that kind of stuff.
Sure, but I'm curious what his fans think. So the first one is, I lost my editing job for making Jordan B. Peterson memes on YouTube. I don't know about that. So the second one is, human beings are born with different capacities. If they are free, they are not equal. And if they are equal, they are not free. This is like, I understand that there's a way that you can read this, but this is a very easy race realist sentiment as well. Like, holy shit.
I see what you're saying.
Like, here's our third one. Put your house in perfect order before you go criticize the world. And the meme is 13 to 17-year-olds, edgy political ideologies that have killed millions of people in the past. Oh, LOL. It's the communism has killed hundreds of millions of people memes. This doesn't have anything to do with self-help. Like,
wait, but do you think that that's fundamentally pro-nationalism?
Not
or pro these
necessarily.
negative viewpoints?
Not necessarily. I'm just saying, like, these are the types of fans that Peterson has.
That's definitely a lot more self-help based. Right? Isn't it talking about that you should organize yourself before you...
Kind of, but you're using the meme of communism to do it. I bet if I go to the comments, do you think that all of them are going to be about self-help, or...
Well, there's at least good enough mix here. Like, we can make the argument. Look at that 100 pounds thing. Nice.
Yeah, that was a self-help one. Yeah, I like that one. Jordan Peterson inspired me to lose 100 pounds. The irony... Oh, this got brigaded. Never mind. Yikes.
What does that mean?
What? Oh, no, the post of the edgy meme, it got brigaded. The irony of the meme on this sub. Oh, is this not a meme mocking edgy 13 to 70 Jordan Peterson fans? Doesn't this apply to Jordan Peterson? So this thread probably got brigaded. But yeah, this self-help thing is pretty cool. I like that. I'm crazy to the Soviet
I just think that, you know what other thing that I think might be the problem is that you engage with a lot of these kinds of like that's mostly what you see. Like I see you arguing with. I've never heard people make race realist arguments until I started video.
Well,
like,
yeah, but I mean,
it's
like,
ridiculous how many of these people you talk to.
Sure, and it's
like,
possible. I could be engaging in a form of selection bias myself. I try to acknowledge that all the time. I dig into the lowest, the dredges of fucking humanity. And it's possible that I have a worse opinion of humanity in general as a result of that. But I mean, like, I try to do broader sweeps. Like for instance, looking at seeing what the most upvoted stuff on a subreddit is, stuff like that, to get like a broader view of like a fan base rather than just who are the worst people that I talk to. Like this post, like, gamer gets YouTube channel closed for punching a female NPC in a video game. Like, this is like a pretty, like, why is this in a Jordan Peterson subreddit, you know? Like, oh, here's an insult of socialism on the next meme. Shout out to Jordan as a child. I don't know what that is. Oh, 100 million dead, another communism meme. Here's a Jordan Peterson meme. The white privileged man. I mean, like, this looks like a self-help one.
Wait, so you would say it's like a lot of the stuff that he's talking about is anti...
it's mostly like the reactionary... Yeah, it's like reactionary stuff, yeah. It's not necessarily like self-help.
Isn't that kind of inevitable, considering just how dominant the left has been, like, for the last... I mean, it's kind of... I might be an idiot for making this argument, but what was that guy? Jon Stewart. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people have come out of that guy. So be careful,
because up until like a week ago, okay, when you talk about the dominant force in American politics, the Republicans owned the Supreme Court, which they will for the next few decades. They owned the executive branch, the president, and they owned both halves of our legislative branch. How can people, like, and I see people do this. What?
Right, like in terms of media.
Okay,
like
in terms of media in the United States, Fox News is one of the largest networks. Okay, talk radio is exclusively dominated by people like Sean Hannity, Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Billy Cunningham. These people are all right-leaning. If I go on to YouTube, Lauren Southern, Steven Crowder, Jordan Peterson, Stefan Molyneux, Ben Shapiro, these people have millions of followers. Where is this idea that people on the right don't have a voice? Like, it's like, this is total fantasy.
It's not so much that they don't have a voice. I think it's like, I don't know. It's the type of people who, at least who I, obviously, actually, I might be completely wrong about that.
Yeah, like, it feels like the observation bias is on the other end here. When I hear conservatives say they don't have a voice, like...
No, yeah, that's... Or I guess maybe it's like the left has been more justified in attacking the right than the right has been, like, in attacking the left for the last
I mean, it seems like it. When the right attacks when the right attacks the left, it's like, why did this college professor threaten this student or whatever, some ditch shit? Which, to be fair, I agree generally with the right more when it comes to college campuses. I think college campuses should be pretty extremist in terms of what they host, because that should be the point in your life where you're learning how to speak out against it. But when I see all these people who are concerned about bad messaging at teachers on college campuses, but then when our head of state, President Donald Trump, comes out and criticizes a private employee for protesting, which is your God-given American right, like in the NFL Colin Kaepernick thing, holy shit, that really makes me take a step back and wonder, are you actually, like, do you care about liberalism, or is this just a tool for some political end for you?
I also would say a lot of these people, I don't know about all of them, but a lot of the people on the right now, all these reactionaries, I don't think they have fundamental, like, political goals. I think they just have, like, an aversion to the left that they want to see voiced, you know? I don't know what kind of policies they're interested in.
Sure, but when you're reactionary politics, like when you're quote unquote to own the libs, when your reactionary politics literally causes somebody like Donald Trump to get elected and the Supreme Court to be poisoned for the next 2 decades, I mean, like, is that a worthwhile political goal? Do you think an ends have been achieved when you've put a literal authoritarian into office to own the libs because you're scared about potential authoritarianism 50 years from now from college students that might grow up and might be authoritarian later in life? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so. I just think that the difference is that they're more arguing on philosophical, or they're more arguing. It's strange to say they're arguing points, not, but they're more arguing against an opinion than they are about any.
Yeah, but what is that opinion of? The opinion that what is bad?
I think they're arguing against, like, this idea that racism has grown and feminism. Like,
I don't think anybody's claiming that it's grown. I think most people, even the biggest liberals in the world, like Democrats in the world, would probably say we're doing better today than we were 50 years ago in regards to sexism or racism. It's just that it still exists in a really insidious way, and Republicans don't acknowledge it.
But, like, these aren't going to be the people that get popular, right? Like, the people that say reasonable things like, oh, you know, we need to black communities.
Well, but a lot of but the problem is that that's because of the right's messaging a lot of the time, though. Like, the right will just lie about what people on the left are saying. So, for instance, remember how much people blew up about that one lady that said white people should shut up?
Yeah.
Have you listened to that speech in full?
I don't think so.
Like,
no.
It's fairly reasonable. It's actually pretty much exactly what I told you earlier about how women have certain lived experiences, and you, as a man, it's really fucking hard to understand these. So, like, sometimes listening to a woman actually talk about that is very enlightening. And to say it a little bit more crassly, sometimes men should just shut up and listen to what women have to say. Or sometimes white people should just shut up and listen to what minorities have to say instead of constantly hand-waving everything, right? That message wasn't that bad, but Republicans took that shit and blew it the fuck up. But they made that massive.
Yeah, but like,
or look at Black Lives Matters, where they say that, like, every Black Lives Matters rally is like a fucking riot. There have been like 3,000 some BLM demonstrations in the United States, and like fucking 2 of them have resulted in like people flipping cars and shit, like some really massive riots.
I'm not defending like the popular right-wing voice. I'm just saying that like, if you're going to have these conversations, you can't say that. What was I going to say? There was something about that thing you said about that woman that said white people need to shut up. Oh, yeah. Don't you think that the thing that they're mainly arguing against is the ease at which we can now, like, fundamentally hate white people? And I mean, I'm not white, so...
I don't think anyone is saying that you can fundamentally hate white people.
No, but I'm saying, if I was to go out and say, you know, I hate white people, like, that's fine. And I don't... And obviously, like, probably nothing's going to come of it, but it definitely raises alarm bells when you can hate a group of people that easily, right? Like, that should be something we should keep in our minds, that we shouldn't allow that kind of all-encompassing negativity.
That's because we're getting into far more nuanced conversations, and I don't want to explore this topic because it's another 3-hour conversation, but, like, the problem is that...
No, but what I'm saying is that, isn't that where Jordan Peterson is generally playing? Isn't that what he talks about, is these nuanced things? Where, that, like...
But the difference is that it's harder for me to get a prescription from Jordan Peterson. He won't tell us how we should act. He just gives a bunch of descriptive claims and then sets you free to unleash your chaos amongst the world.
Well, actually, for the most part, if you're looking at his self-help stuff, that's what his fundamental
Sure, but I think we agree. I think we agree, or maybe we didn't agree on this, that his self-help stuff is not the big reason why he's popular today.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that, like, if he fundamentally does that, and then someone gets him in a situation, another conversation about something that's more relevant in the current social climate, like, he's not going to be able to speak as prescriptively because that's not what he does. That's not his area of expertise. He just puts forward.
Wait, if that's true, then why wouldn't he just not have those conversations? So, for instance, when people say that, when people say, no, when people ask me, when people come on and they're like, hey, I want to debate like race realism, or I want to, like an alternate hypothesis fanboy, or like a Nazi that is engaging in a lot of historical revisionism, I don't debate these people because I don't debate conspiracy theorists at that level, because it would be irresponsible for me to talk to these people, because there's no way that, like, without being like a fucking expert master of all of these topics, that you could even begin to go through the amount of misinformation that these people will spread, right? And I'm okay with that, and I'll say like, oh, this isn't a topic that I want to engage in, because I'm not okay with platforming something like that, because I don't think I could do it in a responsible way. Why wouldn't Peterson say the same?
He often says that he doesn't know, right?
No, but he does it after making descriptive claim. There's a difference between saying like, I'm not sure about this.
Are you saying his descriptive claims are incorrect?
Okay, but like, here's an example, okay? Somebody might say, what do you know about Jewish people in the Holocaust? And here's something I can say. Well, I've heard that some of the records are questionable. I'm not too sure if the exact number of Jews killed is actually correct. It's possible that some of these things could be mistaken. And that's all I say. Now, all three of those descriptive claims are probably true. But if I just make those descriptive claims and walk away, I know who's going to take that, in what way they're going to take that, right? I know how that's going to be taken. Now, those claims themselves are probably true, I'm sure. But, like, I know how that message is going to be taken, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And he does the same thing about, with, like, oh, God, if you want to get into, like, statements on climate change are really bad. Like, yeah, I don't know. This is just
look, I don't really, I believe in climate change, but if you were to ask me to explain it to you, like, all I know is CO2 in the atmosphere, methane. I can't go into detail about it, right? So this is what I'm saying, is that, like, we have opinions that we kind of can't back up. Like, I'm pretty sure I could probably sophisticatedly back up.
Well, of course, this is why we cite
into the data.
We don't dig into data. We cite expert opinion. Like, that's what we have to do.
Okay, but yeah, isn't that what he does? Well, I haven't seen most of this
Sure,
stuff,
but citing expert opinion and doing it in a very leading way is not a healthy way to have this conversation. Like, if you don't know how, if you don't,
wouldn't you argue that
because Jordan Peterson doesn't present the consensus on climate change when he does it. He just said there might be problems with the data, and then that's it, and then he walks away from it.
Yeah, but when you say, like, it's reasonable to assume that the current, like, the popular opinion is that climate change is happening, it's human caused, like, that's kind of a given. Like, shouldn't you then say, okay, now that we know that, let's look at it in a bit more detail? Like, isn't that what you could argue he's doing?
Okay, I don't even know if that's true.
I mean, yeah, I don't know 100% about.
Let me look up, or I'm looking up Gallup poll. Republicans who believe in climate change Gallup. Let's see.
He's a college professor. Like, he's not gonna.
Okay,
be, like,
so I just Googled a Gallup poll. This is from, hold on. So this is from 2018. Global warming concerns steady despite some partisan shifts. So the first question is, I think the seriousness of global warming is generally exaggerated. Republicans have increased this. From 2017, 66% thought that it was generally exaggerated. 69% believe that it's generally exaggerated now. So that means a good majority of Republicans believe that the seriousness of global warming is exaggerated. Less than half of Republicans, 42%, say most scientists believe global warming is occurring. So less than half of Republicans even think it's happening.
But do you think, and I think this is why I think fundamentally he's doing
35% of Republicans believe that it's even caused by human activities.
Yeah, but do you think that these kinds of people, you know, the Bible Belt type, I don't know what we call them down there, these Republican people, Rush Limbaugh fans, are they on YouTube? Are they on Twitter?
Yeah, for sure. There's, I think, a lot of Republican engagement.
Look at
the Donald. Like, we can go to the Donald. It's one of the most, arguably, the largest source for Trump fans, right? The Donald is a huge subreddit on Reddit, isn't it? Despite their attempts to quarantine it.
would you say, and I mean, because I actually don't know about how the internet is going these days. I'm not very entrenched in it, but would you say that the Trump fans you see on there are like going to be the same kind of people that like, because I mean, they all vote for him, but there are people that like him because he's going to overturn the abortion stuff, and there are people that like him because like he's not Hillary, he's not Shillery, Slithery, whatever.
No, I don't believe that. If you like Donald Trump, it's because you like Donald Trump. I've met, and I admit I could be engaging in some selection bias here, but I have met so many people that say, oh, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I just really didn't like Hillary, that will go on to defend every single thing Trump said. I think that there are some people that are like that, but I think that most of the people that support Trump support him because he's Trump.
Anyway, I would say it was always good. I've been shocked every single election. He would get blown out. And it was weird to see like he still had so much support. So maybe I'm actually wrong, and maybe there is a growth in this kind of view that I'm not.
Well, I mean, didn't your country just vote to eject themselves from the European Union? Wait, are you British? Yeah. So I mean, like, and then you've seen like the alternative for Germany, AfD is getting growth. You've seen the party in whatever party Le Pen was in France is growing, anti-immigration sentiments, and right parties in Sweden are growing. Like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but my whole thing about all that kind of stuff is that you can make I disagree with most of them, but you can make non-racist arguments for taking part in all these things. Like, and I understand that's what you're saying is the problem, in that like people can just piggyback on that, but it's very difficult to then distinguish between those two things. You can't just say like.
Well, what I have to do is I have to look at the types of things that people support, and I have to use inductive reasoning to figure out what they think. So, for instance, there are a lot of people that describe themselves as liberals, but they also support Trump wholeheartedly. This is impossible. If you are a liberal, you should absolutely be against Trump. Even like your statement should be the opposite of what you're making. You should say, I fucking hate fucking Democrats. God, I hate them. But you know what? Because I'm a fucking liberal, I'll still vote for a Democrat because I don't want an authoritarian in office. Rather than, I don't like Hillary because she said some shit about, I don't even fucking know. Oh, 'cause I don't even know why fucking people, for a million different reasons, why people hate Hillary. So I'm going to go ahead and vote an authoritarian in office. If you're a liberal, how can you do that? Like, But how are there all these liberals that support Trump that don't call him out on his authoritarianism? Right? Sorry, okay.
This is, I think, another one of the things that we kind of got into earlier when we were talking about it not being fundamentally a political viewpoint. Like, of course, it has political effects, but I think most of what we see is like the kind of thing that people tend to do, which is like, my gut tells me that this is bad. They don't engage with political arguments. They go in there, what was that, your 40-40-20 thing? Like, nothing's going to move these people. They already believe these things. So,
no, I think that rhetoric does shift people. I mean, like I said, like looking at this global warming survey, people's views have gotten more extreme over time as a result of these things. Like from 2017 to 2018, our views on climate change have shifted. And if I look at the president that we have right now,
would you say that the rhetoric is in general? Well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like the president Trump has made like 100 tweets saying that global warming is fake. So I mean, yeah, I think our head of state has some influence over the people.
Yeah, but let me ask you, like, of all these people, right, like that didn't believe in global warming or didn't think it was. If he then came out now and said, after reading some of the data, like, oh, actually, global warming is happening, like it is real. We should be back in the kind of Paris climate thing. Like, do you think they would all just switch with him? I think he's not creating these viewpoints. I think he's an expression of them. I think these things already exist.
Well, it's a feedback system, right? Like, to some extent, you're correct, but then to another extent, he also empowers these views, right? So, for instance, if I hated women and I was sexist, I would only be able to get popular because people already hate women and like me. But then, by virtue of being popular, there will be some people in the middle that I'll persuade over to my side as a result, right?
Yeah, but would you then? How then do you? Because I can't actually see how he can say any more carefully the things that he's saying. Like,
no, do you really think that? Like,
I mean, no, I definitely think there are places he shouldn't be going. Like, he shouldn't be on. He shouldn't be doing interviews with these people. But I think he doesn't really know anything about it, right? Like, I bet that most of what he does is actually speak and engage. Like, I don't know if he's making these political maneuvers.
Okay, well, maybe in the future, maybe I'll try to have like a big doc for things where I disagree with that. But I mean, like, I've seen him say so many things that are so ambiguous about women in the workplace or about climate change or about other values that seem to be highly socially conservative that it seems like he aims for a certain type of audience, and he's achieved that remarkably well. So it's hard for me to...
Yeah. And just one final question. Would you say that for most of these things, that isn't an argument to be had? Like, that we should just... That there's no reason to raise that topic? We kind of already know what the solutions are with it.
No, I think everything should be. Again, like I said, like I'm a huge fucking liberal, like at heart. Like I'm a massive liberal. I think everything should be up for discussion. But the thing is, I'm an omni-liberal. That's I invented my new political movement, okay? Now, even though I say that everything should be up for discussion, it has to happen in responsible ways. That's all I'm saying. So for instance, should we question climate change? Sure, that's fine. But questioning climate change doesn't mean bringing on some Bible-thumping redneck dipshit to my radio program to talk about how the planet is not undergoing it, or all these changes are natural, and by the way, the Earth is 6,000 years old. Like, that's not the way to do it. There are responsible ways to engage in these conversations, and I just don't think that most centrists or Dave Rubin, obsessive people are engaging with it that way.
And yeah, I would say that you probably swung me on the fact that he probably needs to be more tactful in where he chooses to go. But I mean, he does a lot of interviews with a lot of left people too, doesn't he? Like,
does he? Wait, when was it? Has Jordan Peterson been on like debated like critically left-leaning people?
Like he did that GQ interview with Kathy Newman. Like most of these people, I would consider that way.
Okay, maybe I would be interested in seeing him engage in that more. I feel like I'd be interested. I don't know. I'm not sure actually if I would be willing to see that because he's talked to so many right people. I'm not sure.
And the majority of what he does when he's talking to left-wing people is disagree with them. But I definitely think he's on these platforms just because they'll invite him. And that's definitely not exactly a smart idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, this went on way longer than I thought it did. Listen, I've been super fucking aggressive in this conversation, and it's really hard to have those conversations when the other person is being aggressive. So I am grateful that you did it. You probably were more mature than I was in this conversation. So thank you for that, buddy.
Yeah. And my address is...
Yeah.
But yeah, this was definitely fun, and like I've had for a long time, like wanted to have this, wondering whether I'm being unreasonable, and but it was definitely interesting. And there was one guy in chat, right to bear arms, and then there was another guy, some like Super Flare X, whatever. Fuck you guys, fuck you. Damn. Anyway, yeah.
All right. Thanks. Well, hey, I love you, buddy. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.